It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy Wednesday, February 19th. I am here. I am ready to go. This is a special episode. I am crossing my fingers, hoping that my microphone is working and we've got no echo situation today. I'm sorry for the delay. It has been quite a roller coaster of a morning, obviously. We had a late night drop of what can only be described as, well, I would say for 95% of the world, a nothing burger, but the 5% of the people, they're saying this is huge. If you don't see it, then I don't know how you don't see it. This is huge. Believe all women, believe all the uncomfortable women of the world. I am standing up strong for the strong, uncomfortable women of the world. If you are uncomfortable, raise your hand. I am uncomfortable, and I still don't believe that Justin Baldoni is guilty of sexual harassment, and I stand strong here that Blake Lively still does not have a case. But I'm happy to go through her amended complaint with all of you guys. Those of you that were in our last minute Instagram live last night in my bedroom, you came to bed with me with Lance, and you were in it with Oliver and Dylan. This morning, my 9-year-old Oliver was like, "Where's my money? I was live with you last night. Where's my money? I want some Robux." So I'm teaching my kids young. And we were up late. Going through everything. And then this morning, of course, Brian Friedman responded, "Look, Lance is addicted. Lance is addicted. He's here. He's ready to go. He probably wants to go live with it." Lance, you know what? You have to work your way up to go live on YouTube, okay? Gosh. Influencer in training. IIT, we'll call him over there, Lance Bowling. It's over there on Instagram if you guys want to watch our live reaction. Zach Peter is currently on a plane. If he hasn't landed already, he's still on a plane flying over to New York, but we've been texting all morning. We have so much to cover. Let's get into the show so that we can get started. Before I start this, I have to do it, is your daily dose of Donna. So the reason that I did bring Lance into the show yesterday is because, my computer was out of battery. So, tech reasons. It's nice to have another person in the house with a active computer. But also, it's because I wanted to ask him to come into the conversation just because it's nice to get another person's perspective, especially someone who's like a Ryan Reynolds demographic, right? We've been talking about this on the show. We've been saying, what do we have? Like, what would a male who isn't really into this gossip, like Lance didn't even know who Steve Sarowitz was. Lance really doesn't know what's going on, right? And so I asked him on my live on Instagram last night, which is still on our Instagram. I said, like, what do you think? And Lance says, unfortunately, you guys can watch it, but he said, unfortunately, I think that it does kind of ruin the show Wrexham for me. He loved watching that show. Lance is like a really big soccer fan. It's going to ruin it. But he did say Ryan Reynolds made him go get a colonoscopy. So we will always thank Ryan Reynolds for forcing him to get a colonoscopy, because Ryan did go get a colonoscopy on that show. So thanks, Ryan, for making Lance. Ryan always with the perineum talk. Ryan Reynolds loves a perineum. So we will thank him for that. But in other news, I got so frustrated this morning. And I'm just going to be honest. I'm a little triggered this morning. I'm emotional. I'm wearing the closest I can in orange as to honor the Bibas family. If you guys follow me, and if you have been following me, you know that Jewish people around the world have had a really tough 500 days since the war has started, since October 7th. And it was just announced officially just like 10 minutes ago, that the sweet Bibas family, the 3 remaining hostages, those 2 little babies, Kfir and Ariel, the 2 little red-headed babies who were taken into Gaza as hostages, were just announced that they were officially murdered in captivity. And it's so sad with their mother, Shiri. And the faces of that mom and those babies are etched in my brain, being taken away, a mother and little defenseless babies, and the orange was their color. And I am so sad about it. I'm so sad because for 500 days, like we've been like crossing our fingers, like just like hoping that like they would come alive. Like it would just be this like magical thing, like this like happy ending. And it's like we all kind of knew, but I'm so sad because it was like official. So I was like, I just got to wear something like close to orange. I don't have orange, but it was just like, I got to wear something. These like innocent little babies that were taken for no reason, just taken. Anyway, devastating. um, and that is why I'm feeling a little emotional at this moment. That being said, Hamas and Israel are brought up in this lawsuit. It's shocking that that was brought up in this lawsuit. So we are going to talk about that later. I mean, of all things that is brought up in this lawsuit, it is unreal. It is unreal. So if you guys want to bring up negative things about that, if you want to turn that into something negative where you have actually, you can't say anything negative about babies. If you want to turn that into negative, you will be blocked in the live chat. You will be taken away from the live chat. I will not tolerate anything negative about babies that were murdered. Okay? That is something I won't tolerate. I don't care where they come from. I don't care who they are. I don't care what nationality and what country. From any country, I'm not just talking about from Israel, from any country. I don't care where you're from. Children are off limits. All right? So don't turn this around into like a political conversation. I already see people turning this around. But what if? But what about? No what abouts. All right? Enough. Don't turn this around to do your politicizing shit. Let's like honor little poor babies for 5 seconds without turning it around. I'm so sick of that. Meanwhile, in another conversation, we have to talk about Brian Friedman's response to the lawsuit. But I think what we'll do is we will first talk about the lawsuit. We'll go through it, and then we'll talk about the fact that at the end of the day, Brian Friedman always comes back with a great response. And I love Brian Friedman's response, which is basically what we were all thinking about last night, which was, where's the evidence? Now, a lot of people like to say, Blake Lively doesn't need to come up with evidence. She just doesn't. She doesn't need to come up with evidence. And for me, I say, and what Zach was saying too last night, is this isn't actually a normal case. Why wouldn't she come out with the evidence? At this point, this is all she should be coming out with. Everyone says, this is not, you wait for trial to come out with the evidence. Why? All she has right now is evidence. She's throwing all the evidence at us. So let's go through the the complaint that we all waited for until 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Luckily, it was only 8:59 here, but that's like 11:59 here in, LA. But like that's midnight for me. I was up very late last night. Okay, so let's turn that around. Let's get into it and let's start talking about it. And everyone, get cozy. Get your clit tests out. Let's get into it. I'm glad about the comments. I feel like we moved on from the political conversations. I'm really proud of us, dosers. I'm really proud of us. Thank you very much for being respectful. For the most part, everything was good here. I'm glad we could talk about things and move on here. I hope you guys can see well. I'm trying to make it as big as possible. Oh, that's going to be, can you guys see that well? I think that's good, right? Okay. So the table of contents, no thanks. Moving on. No, that's like a little hard to, hold on. There we go. There's a lot of table of contents. It's a book. Now, they took a page. They finally, her lawyers or her writers, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who she hired. Maybe she hired Colleen Hoover to write this. I think that they took a page out of Justin Baldoni's book. They were like, we are going to write it as theatrical as they did, right? We're going to do this and make it as beautifully written as Justin Baldoni's lawsuit because that seemed to get the crowd invested. So let's do it. So they said, Are you confident enough to listen to the women in your life, to hear their ideas and their solutions, to hold their anguish and actually believe them, even if what they're saying is against you? And will you actually stand up and do something so that one day we don't have to live in a world where a woman has to risk everything and come forward to say the words, "Me too"? That's Justin Baldoni. Why I'm done trying to be man enough. 2017. Okay. So clearly Nick Vile actually wrote this. Okay. Nick Vile pulled this too. We all talked about this. This is from 2017, you guys. Think about this. They pulled a quote that he used 8 years ago before he was in conversation with a woman as insane. I'm just gonna put I think I've like given up. I'm just gonna be 100% honest. You guys are gonna get a very unfiltered version. Because today I have no shits left for Blake Lively. I've given up. I used to be a little bit like, we don't know. We don't know. Let's wait. Let's not I think I've given up. You guys are gonna get an unfiltered version of me saying, like, we are dealing with actually someone who's like really, truly, maybe possibly evil. Because what she's doing to this man is very disturbed. I'm angry today over her. This was when he was innocent, when he didn't realize that women like Blake Lively actually existed. It says plaintiff Blake Lively brings this lawsuit because she was unlawfully retaliated against for coming forward and reporting sexual harassment. Defendant Wayfarer Studios is the owner of this film. Defendant Justin Baldoni is the co-chairman and co-founder of Wayfarer and also served as director, executive producer, and actor in the lead role of Ryle Kincaid. Miss Lively played the leading role of Lily Bloom in this film. At all times, Mr. Baldoni was Miss Lively's boss. Oh, yeah. Powerful man, that Mr. Baldoni, wasn't he? Right? Powerful. For years prior to the release of the film, Mr. Baldoni portrayed himself as a leader of the male feminist movement, writing books, hosting podcasts, and holding TED Talks on the topic. In reality, though, yeah, he was like this really fake guy she's making him out to be. But in reality, he was a disgusting man. That's not what she said. She said his public persona is a stark contrast to his private behavior, which is replete with hypocrisy, misogyny, and retaliation. That's weird considering he has zero evidence or accusations or allegations of acting this way ever before he ever met Blake Lively. Okay? You know what, Brian? Hire me. Hire me because he has zero evidence before he met Blake. In public, Mr. Baldoni gave the appearance of taking responsibility for the fact that he had unconsciously been hurting and silencing the women in his life and implored men to be man enough to shut the hell up and listen to women. He claimed that he wanted to end toxic masculinity, acknowledging his own toxic behavior by admitting that there is a woman or two that I in some way made uncomfortable by saying something or doing something that was chauvinistic or sexist. There's 1,000,000% probability that that exists, and that he wanted to say he was sorry and would do better. Mr. Baldoni echoed this narrative while marketing the film. Okay, so here's the crazy thing is that he does admit that he does have a history of being kind of like uncomfortable to women. That's more than I can say for 95% of men who are actual creeps. Like every single man that I know has been creepy at some point to women. I'm just going to be honest. And I say that with my husband probably watching. I'm not like scared of saying that. Every single man I know at some point. Have you ever watched Love is Blind? Have you ever watched any dating show on TV? Any Bachelor? Have you ever watched Real Housewives? Every single freaking man out there has had like a creepy moment. The difference is Justin actually takes accountability, recognizes it, takes accountability. Did I say that already? Takes responsibility and like has self-awareness. That's the difference. That's a big difference here. It says, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay? I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable. Sounds like he's kind of a good guy, Blakey. At his own moment of truth, when forced to confront women he had made uncomfortable on his own set, he trivialized their concerns and failed to take accountability for the effects of his behavior. whether intended or not. And when faced with the predictable consequences of having created a toxic set, namely that the cast did not want to appear alongside him in public rather than holding himself accountable, Mr. Baldoni hid behind his billionaire friend and retained publicists, crisis managers, digital media strategists, and litigators to mount a sophisticated and well-funded retaliation campaign that sought to bury and destroy anyone that challenged his brand. That campaign has succeeded beyond Mr. Baldoni's wildest expectations. In fact, the defendant's actions have created such a toxic climate of online vitriol against Miss Lively. Hold on. That's us. That's us. Cheer. That's us, guys. We're so toxic and vitriolic. Is that a word? Against Miss Lively, her family, other members of the cast, and various fact witnesses that all of the above have received disturbing threats. One fact witness known to publicly support Miss Lively recently received a written threat indicating that the witness's family would be sexually assaulted and killed unless the witness agreed to make a statement and give the truth. This type of climate was the predictable, if not inevitable, result of the retaliatory campaign launched by the Baldoni Wayfarer parties, both before and after the litigation began. Guys, I am not seeing a lot of your comments right now because I'm trying to read. So I hope very much that you guys are, saying things. Well, I have great mods, so I'm trusting that you guys are on it. And Ray just text me if anything is like super important that I'm missing. Okay, hun. Okay. Cool. Okay, remember, again, hearsay. And I'm sure that they did get a threat like this because people are insane. People are insane online. I have literally, I'm not joking, I have a folder on my phone called hate messages. The amount I started this program, I'm 97 years old. I just became a 97-year-old. I started this episode of my show talking about the Bibas family who just died in captivity. I guarantee you I will get hate messages, and I guarantee you that like the amount of disgusting like death threats that I've gotten since October 7th, I have a folder on my phone. That's not like a smear campaign. That's just people having unhinged opinions online. I don't think anyone Hamas didn't send out like a smear campaign against me. Maybe I should sue Hamas for putting out a smear campaign. Okay. The dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation fueled by the defendant's retaliation campaign has required Miss Lively to alter her personal and professional life and to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than Oh, I need a hero. She's a hero, you guys. She's taken steps to protect. She's protected her dragons. I missed that last night. She's protected her dragons she's protecting those innocent bystanders. It's weird that we all know exactly who they are. Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferrer, Liz Plank, Colleen Hoover. I mean, how it's weird. Then this amended complaint does not refer to certain witnesses. Thus, this amended complaint does not refer to certain witnesses by name, nor does it provide screenshots of their text messages. Importantly, however, these witnesses have given Miss Lively permission to share the substance of their communications in this amended complaint as contained herein, and they will testify and produce responsive documents in this discovery process. Miss Lively brought this lawsuit because she was one of the women or two. Oh, wait. One of the women or two. Hold on. One of the women or two. I feel like they should be a little more specific. One of the women or two that Mr. Baldoni 1,000,000% made uncomfortable. Oh, we've got it. Made uncomfortable. It's weird. They should have probably looked over for some grammar mistakes on the set of the film. Lively, as detailed in her opening complaint and below, Miss Lively was disturbed that disturbed by the fact that Mr. Baldoni spoke about his pornography addiction, which he spoke about many times before this movie, divulged information. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I have a great listener on the show called Dragons and Clits. You are my favorite, and you are sexually harassing me with that comment. Okay. So expect a lawsuit by the afternoon, Dragons and Clits, immediately. Made derogatory, degrading, and sexual comments, described his own genitalia, improvised intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively in advance, and added graphic content to the script, including multiple new scenes with nudity and a chaotic and violative birthing scene. Wait, does anyone want to act out a chaotic and violative birthing scene? A chaotic and violative. Like, did she have an exorcist while the baby was coming out? That is so wild. I want to see that birthing scene so badly. Oh, Kelly, thanks for the super sticker, my friend. Excuse me. Including, okay, for which he cast, again, she's going with the friend as the OBGYN. Yes, actors and directors can be friends. His friend was an actor. That's not like he wasn't an actor. This really threw everyone off in that first complaint. Remember? She said he hired a friend as if like the friend was just some random guy that happened to walk by. He's an actor. He has a SAG like union card. He's an actor. Also, her sister was in the film. She's an actor. Come on. JP, I picture a baby Beetlejuice birth like, it's chaotic. I'm losing my mind. I think I'm losing my mind. Leo, can she describe his genitalia? Can he show us his genitalia? Will his genitalia be part of the court description? I would like to know. But Miss Lively knew, but Miss Lively was not the only one who was uncomfortable on set. And Mr. Baldoni and Wayfarer knew it. After Miss Baldoni learned that he had caused Miss Lively and others to feel uncomfortable, he turned his TED Talk and feminist advocacy on his head. He did not hold himself and other men accountable or take his own advice to be confident enough to hold their anguish and actually believe him. But instead used a louder voice to silence Miss Lively and anyone else who might speak up. That louder voice, amplified by publicists, crisis managers, digital media teams, and lawyers, has sought to mislead the public into believing that Miss Lively did not experience sexual harassment by portraying her as a powerful bully that fabricated claims of misconduct in order to seize control of Mr. Baldoni's movie. This narrative is false and nonsensical on its own terms, completely at odds with Mr. Baldoni's confession to his crisis manager on August 30th that Miss Lively is the kind of person that genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust and is breathtakingly cynical, coming from a man whose public brand is built upon a pro-feminist facade that urges others to listen to and believe women. The only reason she has that quote, by the way, I always talk about that quote. I talked about it on Dumois as well. That quote between him and Melissa Nathan, the only reason I talk about that quote is because I think that quote works against Blake because he knew that this was coming. He said, this kind of person like Blake, she will never, ever see herself in the wrong. She will always, to the day she dies, see herself as the victim. And she's using her own, this thing that he decided to bring out. Like that wasn't something that she found as a gotcha. He brought that text out to show that he knew it was coming. And she's turning it around and being like, see, he said that I was going to do. It drives me nuts. More importantly, the defendant's false narrative crumbles under the indisputable truth that Miss Lively was not alone in complaining about Mr. Baldoni and raised her concerns contemporaneously as they arose in 2023, not in connection with some imagined power play for control of the film in 2024. The experiences of Miss Lively and others were documented at the time they occurred starting in May of 2023. Importantly, and contrary to the entire narrative defendants have invented, Mr. Baldoni acknowledged the complaints in writing at the time. He knew that women other than Miss Lively were also uncomfortable and had complained about his behavior. On May 24th, Miss Lively confided in a text to a woman. Remember, this is 2023 when they're still in production. Before the strike, before they had that big meeting, this is early on. On May 24th, Miss Lively confided in a text to a woman who was a mutual friend of Baldoni and Heath. We're all assuming this is Liz Plank. You know Liz Plank. She's the co-host of Man Enough, who ended up siding with Blake only when the complaint went public, only when the entire world and the New York Times published it, not a year and a half before. So what kind of a friend is this, actually? But she confided in a text saying, I was going to invite you to set tomorrow. These people, whoa. It's like HR nuts today. The both of them. I wasn't expecting that turn. I mean, it's been present, but today I came home and cried. Further in the exchange, Miss Lively describes Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath as creeps. Like, keep your hormones to yourself. This is not mine. I don't want it. I don't want you gaze or words or tongue or videos of your naked wife. Yeah, it's shocking. Clowns. Well, guys, this is where I started to say, last night with Zach and I both, we started to say, show us. Show us the full text. Why are you able to, as you like to do, cherry pick? Why aren't we seeing the full context of the text? Number one, you're not showing us full sentences even. You're like, there's a lot of dots. You're not showing us full sentences. Why aren't we seeing the picture of the text? If you're showing us pictures of text messages between Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel and Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath and every single other person and their mother, why can't you show a screenshot and block out the names of the person you're texting to prevent that person's identity being exposed? You're a liar. And if you're not lying, and this is actually your text, why aren't you showing us the full context of the text? What happened if you're, obviously, how can we believe this? This is hearsay. So I'm going to take all of this and just, it's in one ear and out the other. No evidence. Also, by the way, we're not seeing Liz Plank's or whoever you're texting's response. So as of right now, you could be that annoying friend that complains about everything. You go to Starbucks, the coffee's too hot. You go to ice cream, the ice cream is too cold. You go to, you get water and the water tastes metally. You watch a movie and it's too loud. You're annoying. I'm just saying, like, you could have been saying this about everything every day. Next. A few days later, on May 26, Miss Lively reported her concerns. Let me make it bigger. Miss Lively reported her concerns regarding unwelcome and inappropriate behavior by Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. That's obviously from Wayfarer. Now we bring in a Sony employee. This is the first time we hear a name from Sony. The first time from Sony employee. Now she finally reports for the first time on May 26th to Ange Gianetti, the film's representative for Sony. This is the first time we actually get a name of someone at Sony. Over the following 3 days in May of 2023, another female cast member reports her own concerns regarding Mr. Baldoni's unwelcome behavior to both Miss Gianetti and one of the film's producers. Notwithstanding that females cast members' considerable reservations with coming forward, she nonetheless spoke up and conveyed her feelings that the work on the film was suffering as a result of Mr. Baldoni's behavior. Miss Gianetti shared those concerns with Wayfarer. On June 1st, Mr. Baldoni responded to that female cast member in writing, acknowledging that he was aware of her concerns and that adjustments would be made. Okay, so we don't know what the concerns are, right? We have no idea what the concerns are. We don't know if she's saying, We don't know if the concerns are coming from Jenny Slate. It's another actress. So it's definitely Jenny Slate or Isabella Ferrer. I'm guessing it's Jenny Slate. Okay. I don't feel like Isabella Ferrer is in a position at this point to be like standing up for herself, considering she's writing all these kind, beautifully nice messages to Blake. So I think it's Jenny Slate. That's my guess. And if she's having issues, I think it's honestly about the butt. I think it was that HR thing that we got about the butt that Zach and I talked about the other day. I do. So if she had an issue, it sounds to me like Mr. Baldoni responded in writing, acknowledging, and that adjustments would be made. Okay? So just like I said, if there was an issue, or maybe her sister, that's true. If there was an issue, things were handled. By the way, there's issues on every production I've ever worked on in my entire life. Let's continue. And you know what I really want to do? I want at some point, and I can't do this today. I wanted to do the timeline matchup between his timeline and her timeline. Like what happened on May 26th on his timeline versus her timeline, right? It could be her sister too. Jessica says it could be her sister. And this is really interesting because of course it would be, right? Robin was in the movie. Robin is also married to Bart Johnson, which is really interesting. But that would make sense that they would go in on this together. I mean, that would really make sense. Notwithstanding that promise, Wayfarer took no actions to investigate this reported conduct, nor did it implement any protections at that time. Well, did they have to? Do you have to investigate every piece of conduct when you have an uncomfortable situation and the director deals with it? Is that like a cause for investigation? I don't know the rules. Unless you go to SAG and report it. Do you have to like do an investigation over this? Notwithstanding, okay, just 1 week later on June 8th, the same female cast member told Miss Lively about her growing concerns with the conditions on set. She found it difficult to talk to Mr. Baldoni. Again, she told Miss Lively. Why is she going to Miss Lively? Why is Miss Lively human resources? It's very suspect. Why is everyone going to Miss Lively? And why is no one going to the freaking union or to a producer or like a real producer? Why is Blake like the person in charge here? There's other producers on set. Miss Lively responded, I know. And by the way, is this over text? Because is this all again hearsay? I know. I find it really hard to speak to him. I try to cover it up with busyness, but not sure that covers what's going on. Later, another female cast member confided to Miss Lively that she felt too uncomfortable on set. You guys, this is feeling very much Gossip Girl poisoning the cast member. Blake Lively was sitting back one day. She was sitting and she had a sign. And it said, if you have an issue with Justin Baldoni, come and talk to me. You know, like free hugs. She was one of those girls. Issue with Justin Baldoni, wait in line. And she just sat there and waited for people to come over and give them her issues. Later, another female cast member confided to Miss Lively that she also felt uncomfortable on set. Blake, all of this occurred and was documented in writing almost 1 year before the edit. Where was it documented? In her journal? As a result of guild strikes, Blake took over the HR department. Seriously, what did she do? She took over everything. I wouldn't be surprised if she did take over the HR department. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thanks, guys. Okay, guild strikes happen. Production of the film shuts down in October. While it was shut down, obviously, we're not hearing about the 700 times that she had strep throat. Miss Lively confides in a text message to another female cast member that she's dreading going back to our film. I keep getting hits of the experience in really upsetting ways. Yeah, so do I, Blake. Okay, the female cast member expressed empathy for Miss Lively and confirmed similar feelings. Ew, I hate her. Oh, did I say that out loud? Before returning to production following the guild strikes based on Wayfarer's complete failure to investigate or address any of the complaints conveyed by Miss Lively decided to speak up. I'm going to speak up for everyone and require that Sony and Wayfarer agree to a set of protections to ensure a safe set for all of the cast and crew. Thus, in mid-November, the parties agreed to implement a list of protections, which includes 17 provisions designed to require Wayfarer to cease the Onset behavior of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. Those provisions, it required an all hands meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Another provision required that an experienced producer, Todd Black, be brought in to oversee production. Importantly, none of the requested protections were tied in any way to Miss Lively's creative input in the film and were made months before any discussions regarding the cut of the film. At that moment in time, with the completion of the film uncertain, Miss Lively did not request, nor did she receive any creative rights, editing rights, or any other role on the film beyond her role as an actress and an executive producer. Everything she requested as laid out was designed to ensure the safety and well-being of the cast and the crew. She did not use that leverage to obtain anything other than protections for herself and others to create a safe work environment. You guys, she just cared about everyone so much. So the notion that she did all of this as some sort of Byzantine plot to take control over the movie at some future point is absurd. There is not one shred of evidence to support it. Donna, you're going to continue to be furious the more you read, Stephanie says. I'm ready. After receiving the document, Wayfarer responded that even though they acknowledge that she has these concerns, even though their perspectives differ, because it sounds to me like they have no evidence that there are strange things happening. They find most of them not only reasonable, but essential for the benefit of all parties. So basically, we know this all. They were like, we don't necessarily understand where all of these points are coming from, but they're reasonable requests. Sony also agreed to that. Sony said, we also agreed to it. Following Wayfarer's agreement, Miss Giannetti texted Miss Lively on November 29th and said, so glad Todd is in now, overseeing everything, but wanted to check in, offer anything I can. I know this has been beyond challenging, to say the least. We at Studio want to support you the best we can. Okay, so you also have to understand, Anne's Giannetti at Sony is also, everyone is freaking kissing Blake's ass, okay? They're kissing Blake's ass. They are kissing, we're not seeing this side, but you remember on Justin's side, which we saw in Justin's complaint, Justin is walking on eggshells to make Blake happy as well, okay? Justin is walking on eggshells. Sony's walking on eggshells. Producer Todd Black eventually has to walk on eggshells. Everyone is walking on eggshells for Blake. She's not showing that side on her complaint, but we know the truth. So, of course, Angie's like, I know this has been challenging for you. This is also in the middle of the strike. She's had strep throat and COVID 46 times. So she's challenged. You remember how many issues she had, how many doctors she had to see throughout the course of this, with the weight issues, with the training issues, with the struggles of getting, the script on time and the issue. She was so challenging throughout production. So we're not seeing any of that. So she's making it sound like the only issue she had was how difficult Justin was. But she has not proven one time that Justin was difficult, by the way. Like, we're not understanding one time that Justin was difficult. She's just saying Justin was difficult and uncomfortable on set. We're not saying why. By the way, I'm just saying all 3,196 of you guys that are here live are making me feel uncomfortable at this moment. I'm just saying right now. On January 4th, prior to resuming production, oh my God, it's so funny. Hold on, I just saw it. Tina says, Donna, I know I'm just a member here, but I need to take your channel. Yeah, stop Blaking me, okay? You're so Blake. On January 4th, this is right before resuming production, the all-hands meeting that Wayfarer and Sony agreed to in November was held in New York. Now we know all the attendees. We have Justin. We have Jamie Heath. We have now Anne's Giannetti. We have Alex Sachs, who I talked about a few days ago. We have Todd Black, who is the big-time producer who came in. And then we have Blake. We have Ryan Reynolds. And it also says who is Miss Lively chose as her representative. Deadpool, a choice which Miss Lively has the right to exercise under the November agreement. Given that the meeting was about repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behavior by Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. Remember, this meeting was not about sexual harassment because the word sexual harassment had never once been brought up. If you guys notice in any of those complaints, just the word uncomfortable made me feel uncomfortable. There's no words about sexual harassment ever. During the January 4th meeting, the parties discuss in detail the inappropriate conduct. Again, it's just inappropriate. If there was sexual harassment, we would have SAG involved. Justin would get fired. During the January 4th, the parties discussed in detail the inappropriate conduct that they had all experienced. And by the way, I don't think that there was conversations about all of the people that had experienced it, because I think there would be more to put like stop there, but whatever. At the hands of Baldoni and Heath. Miss Lively read the list below in its entirety, and after a discussion, all parties present agreed that the outline conduct would cease. So I guess Blake stood up, or maybe didn't stand up, and read this out loud. I can only imagine how dramatic that was when she read this huge 2930 point document. At the end of the meeting, having discussed at length the details of concerns, the parties agreed to implement and follow the protections for return to production to ensure that the film could be completed, marketed, and released safely and successfully, and it was. Production of the film resumed and concluded on February 9th, and the film has been a resounding success. Okay, so we're not getting any of the real reality of that meeting, which is the yelling, Ryan Reynolds completely arguing and screaming at Justin Baldoni, even though Ryan's sources had admitted that Ryan yelled, and someone from Sony or a producer, Todd Black, someone had said that they had never in all their years had seen anyone yell the way that they did in that meeting. So she's leaving any of that out. She's leaving how intense that meeting was. It just worked out. I read it, they agreed, and we moved on. So she can take feeling uncomfortable and turn that into sexual harassment, but she can't say that a meeting was like a very, very intense yelling hour. She can just say, we agreed and everything was good. Kooks. Next. Oh, yeah, she left out the dragons. She left out so much. Now we're returning to production, and Lively then reassured a female cast member, as a result of the protections, you don't need to hug anyone this time. To which the female cast member responded with gratitude. Oh my God, thanks, Blake. Miss Lively continued, he won't touch you, or shouldn't. I don't think he or Jamie will. Miss Lively expressed her belief that it would be a professional set and we're getting good work. That's weird. Should I pull up her hug with Amy Schumer where she continuously rubbed on Amy? I really should pull that up. Leading up to and in connection with the release of the film during the summer of 2024, Miss Lively and fellow cast members promoted the film. According to the marketing plan created and delivered by the film's distributor, Sony. Or you mean Maximum Effort Productions? Don't want to bring that up again, but maybe we should, considering that it's your husband's company. Miss Lively and other cast members were under contractual obligation. The marketing plan directed the cast to focus more on Lily's strength, et cetera, et cetera. Wayfarer endorsed this plan in an email to Sony on August 11th. Mr. Heath described the marketing of the film to date as brilliant and fantastic, and noted that we are not saying it's been inappropriately marketed in any way. They're taking this out of context. We've all seen the emails. In the days leading up to the film's release, Mr. Baldoni abruptly pivoted away from the film's marketing plan and the types of publicity activities in which he had previously participated. Wait. In the days leading up to the film's release, Mr. Baldoni abruptly pivoted away from the marketing plan and the publicity activities which he had previously participated. What the public did not know was that Mr. Baldoni and his team did so in an effort to explain why many of the film's cast and crew had unfollowed Mr. Baldoni and were not appearing with him in public. To that end, he and his team used domestic violence survivor content to protect his public image. Oh my God. She's like not mentioning that they didn't invite him to multiple promo events. Do you guys remember how many times they did all these maximum effort promo events? How many things that they did and they just didn't include him? They literally worked with Ryan Reynolds' company. They did Book Bonanza. They did all of those filmed stupid Brandon Sklenar, weird Hugh Jackman mom things. They did all of those filmed Bring Your Florals and Clitorals. And they literally didn't invite him. They went out to dinners together. They celebrate birthdays together, did not include him, all unfollowed him. And she's saying that he pivoted. I feel so sick for him. That's like me not getting invited to a party and people saying she didn't want to come. Ugh. Other cast members contemporaneously observed Mr. Baldoni's pivot as it was happening. For example, a female cast member lamented to Miss Lively in a text on August 10th that Mr. Baldoni's marketing pivot was jeopardized. This is after they unfollowed him. This is after they unfollowed him. This is after August 10th. Isn't August 10th after the premiere? When is the premiere? Premiere of It Ends With Us. August 9th. The premiere was August 9th. They sent him to the basement on August 9th. They put him under. They didn't pose with him. They had all unfollowed him. Yet they get a text message that says his marketing pivot is jeopardizing the success of the film. Like jail. Send her to jail. Send her to jail for this. What the public did not know that this was the beginning of a multi-tiered plan that Mr. Baldoni and his team described as social manipulation designed to destroy her reputation. The plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. And this is where Steve Sarowitz, my new best friend. Now I'm going to town for Steve. Steve is now my new passion project. Justin and Steve, okay? Because now they really went after Steve, and I truly, personally want to fight for Steve after what they did to him last night. Steve Sarowitz, who divulged to a witness. Who is this damn witness? And why is his name Ryan Reynolds? At a New York premiere on August 6th, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family. That was not the only time Miss Sarowitz made such a threat. You guys ready for this shit? You guys ready for, you want to be pissed off this morning? Later in August 2024, okay? Aw, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm at the beginning of this daily dose, but I'm behind. But I want to say I'm proud to be a doser. Love you. Thank you for being you. You're so sweet. Thank you, love. All right, here we go. This is like what really triggered me this morning, this morning. Later in August 2024, even though the film had turned out very well and Wayfarer had made a lot of money on it, Mr. Sarowitz confessed to another witness, an individual who was working with Wayfarer on an unrelated project, that if Miss Lively or Mr. Reynolds ever cross the line, ever, then I will go after them. He declared, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done. Minimum. Not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead, but dead to a lot of people. If they ever get me to that point, then I'll make it worth their while, because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure that studio is protected. Okay. Listen to me. I will say this. Reading this now, understandably, calming down a little bit, I will say I do believe that this is a good man. And I do believe that he is saying straight up, you know what? Now, after reading this complaint, I can kind of understand why he said this, because he's not actually saying, I want to murder them. But I actually do believe that he is willing to spend every single last dollar in his pocket to make sure that the good outweighs the bad in this fight. I don't know if he actually said this or not. Apparently, this person, whoever this person is that has this quote, has it exactly, perfectly in writing. Although there's no evidence of it. We don't have an email. We don't have a text message. This is hearsay. So I don't know who this person is that's willing to go in trial, hand on a Bible and go on, the witness stand or whatever to say that, Steve Sarowitz actually said that. But I will tell you this, Okay. I had that source last week. You guys remember this? I had this source last week who was friends with someone who knows Steve Sarowitz really well. And she said he will not drop the suit. He will not drop the suit against the New York Times or against Blake and Ryan. He will go the distance, like Lisa Barlow. He will go the distance. And the reason that he will go the distance is because he is a man that believes in good. He's Baha'i and he believes in the good of people and he doesn't want the bad people to win. He is also Jewish. And I imagine the terrorists, Hamas is a terrorist organization. That is not disputed. Okay. I imagine he knows that terrorism is bad and he is willing to go the distance to make a point that bad people like Blake and Ryan, who are coming down and creating a lie to try to completely ruin this man, Justin Baldoni's career, and New York Times for being complicit in it, should be punished and should be taken down for making up a lie. And for that, I kind of understand it if it's true. But who is this person that created this quote? How would they have word for word about this quote? Right? How? Who? It's word for word. And how did they get this quote? And why wasn't it in their first exact what was it called? Complaint, right? It's so wild. He's mad. This is not a retaliation complaint. He's angry. His entire business and his very close business partner and friend, Justin Baldoni's life is on the line. Career is on the line. He's pissed. He's allowed to be. So none of it is in writing. None of it is in a footage. None of it is in an email. It's just hearsay. So anyone can say anything. Anyone can say. So the fact that this is in this lawsuit, in this complaint, is wild to me. And the only reason that it's used is because they want the world, because they know that saying Israel and Hamas is such a hot button thing that they knew it was going to get press. And guess what? It did. On Newsweek. This morning on Newsweek, someone sent it to me and I put it in my stories. It got freaking press because Leslie Jones Leslie Jones doesn't know how to, one thing she always knows how to do is get press. And look at the article that shows up on freaking Newsweek today. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds compared to Hamas in lawsuit. Can you believe that? They actually were able to get this in the press today. It's so disgusting. So the press falls right into their hands. And I don't believe he actually said they're Hamas. If he actually used this, I don't even know. I think it's completely a sensational quote. And it's so gross to use as a Jewish man. I'm so grossed out. Now I have my pro Blakers who now I can't even look at. If you're still on Blake Lively's side today, I don't even know if I can talk to you anymore. Like I used to be able to have conversations. Now I'm so triggered by you. I don't even know if I can talk to you. And one of them says to me, "Oh, Donna, I don't know about your guy, Steve Sarowitz. He doesn't seem like such a good guy." I said, "What? Why?" And they said, "Well, look at what he said in this one article, in this one interview, right? In this one interview about his daughter. He doesn't seem like such a great guy." And I'm thinking, oh God, do they have this smoking gun? Is he an asshole? Maybe he is an asshole and I don't know. So I was working out. I was doing my arms this morning, like all stressed out, trying to get out of there, wanting to see this interview. Look at what she showed me. I laughed out loud. I said, "This is your smoking gun? Just wait." This is an interview he did 1 month ago. It's called Connection is Magic. It only has 1.4 thousand views. It was a month ago. Connection is Magic with Samson Schulman. And it's an interview. Let me show you. He's talking about his daughter who has migraines. And she's at Northwestern University, and he got her an apartment because she needs to be in quiet places because she has daily migraines. Check out what he says.
Her next door neighbor doesn't know this, and her next door neighbor has been making a terrible ruckus. Publicly, there was an article published. She complained when we wanted to do construction. She got all the other neighbors on her side with the idea that my daughter, who has massive migraine headaches, like for much of her life, she's had a headache every single day. And that my daughter's been having loud parties, which is literally physically impossible for my daughter to do. On top of it, my daughter is the reason why I adore her so much is she's a lovely, kind, considerate, and thoughtful person, extremely intelligent. But the back of her card says, I hope something good happens to you today. And that's who she is. So the neighbor really hates her, but doesn't know her. So I took that upon myself to try to get the neighbor to ease up a little bit. And I thought about it as a father, sometimes, this is me being human.
That's the instinct. Still, even instinct. For you, that you be love, you're love, Steve. But even you have to fight that instinct. Yeah.
So I had to fight down my first reaction, which was to go to the neighbor and say, do you know who you're messing with? I'm a billionaire. I can make your life terrible.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. I have to say I thought about doing it, but I didn't do that.
It's honest.
We gave her a beautiful gift basket.
You gave the neighbor a beautiful gift basket.
Yeah, we gave neighbors on both sides a beautiful gift basket and said, thank you for your patience during the construction of the house. She sent me a thank you back, so maybe it's the start of something new. Martin Luther King said, you can't overcome hate with hate. Only love can do that. And you can't overcome darkness with darkness. Only light can do that.
This is a good segue.
This was the smoking gun to show us that Steve Sarowitz is not a perfect human being. Can you believe? This was the moment that she showed me. I said, the fact that he thought briefly that I could do something terrible to her because I'm a billionaire, but then I decided against it because I actually want to kill them with kindness. You just totally proved your point. He's a nice man. Oh my God. They're not mean people. Everyone has bad fleeting thoughts. It's what you do. Justin Baldoni, the same. They did not create a smear campaign. He may have wanted to. He didn't do it. This is wild. Blake is the problem. Blake actually does it. She thinks it and executes it. She should be Baha'i. Oh my God, I laughed in her face. I was like, you just literally ruined your argument. Thank you for showing me this. I can't wait to show my show how wonderful Steve Sarowitz is. He's an amazing human being. I want to work for Steve Sarowitz. Next. Supported by Mr. Sarowitz's financial backing and militaristic worldview, F you with what sounds like a disgusting, I'm just going to say it, maybe I'm sensitive, anti-Semitic, gross dog whistle. Mr. Baldoni and his Wayfarer associates embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for Miss Lively exercising her legally protected right to speak up about their misconduct on the set, with the additional objective of intimidating her and anyone else from revealing in public what actually occurred. On July 31st, following the recommendation of their publicist, Jennifer Abel, Wayfarer, and Mr. Baldoni retained a crisis communications specialist named Melissa Nathan and her company, the Agency Group. So this is when the Agency Group gets hired, and Melissa Nathan then delivers the proposal to Mr. Baldoni, which includes the website to discuss full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis. We've talked about this, how they come up with the entire idea of, what to do if, we know that it's like an if-then proposal, okay? Social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative, as well as social manipulation. This is a plan that goes beyond standard crisis PR. What Miss Nathan proposed included a practice known as astroturfing, which has been defined as the practice of publishing opinions or comments on the internet in the media that appear to come from ordinary members of the public, but actually come from a particular company or political group. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys are so sweet with all of your super chats. I'm going to go to all of them soon, but I see one right here. Steve Sarowitz, Wayfarer, Justin and his family are amazing people. It is heartbreaking that he may have to wait 13 months or more to clear his name and go back to work. Thank you for your work, Donna. Oh, Aaron, do you know them personally? It almost seems like you do. Thank you so much for that. And I agree. That's why I'm fighting so hard. I'm not doing it just for me. Trust me. You guys, I think we're all in this together. Like, I really not joking. I feel now it's personal. I feel like we're all feeling so personal and connected to them all. Okay, and this is how she's talking about astroturfing. She brings up the dictionary for this. Can she also bring up the dictionary for sexual harassment? Next. On August 2nd, it says, tag circulated a scenario planning document to Mr. Baldoni, Miss Heath, and others, which describe preparations and strategy, and her team should Miss Lively and her team make her grievances public? Remember, should they make her team public or make her grievances public? To get ahead of this narrative, Miss Nathan's plan proposed strategies to advance misleading counter narratives. Okay. Initially, Mr. Baldoni expressed concerns that the written plan was insufficiently aggressive to protect him. Writing to Mr. Heath and Miss Abel, he said he was not in love with the document they sent. We've seen this already. It says, not sure I'm feeling the protection I felt on the call. In response, Mr. Heath attempted to reassure Mr. Baldoni that they had found the right people for the campaign. So we've seen all of this already. Okay. Later that day, Miss Nabel and Miss Nathan exchanged the following text messages. Again, we have seen this, so I can't go over this all again. Again, we are absolutely not going to go through this all again. I can't waste your guys' time here, right? Oh, Kosla Music, thank you for your messages. You've missed an important thing on the footnote about how they got the text messages in the first place. Let's see. Right here. Miss Lively obtained the communications set forth in her original complaint through legal process, including a civil subpoena served on Jones Works. In statements to the media and in public filings of this court, certain of the defendants and their counsel have baselessly claimed that Miss Lively or her counsel engaged in criminal alteration of these materials. Oh, thank you. That's right. That is false. Jones Works produced the communications to Miss Lively in connection with the lawful subpoena. Yes, we know this. So they're basically saying that they did subpoena, and Jones Works, Stephanie Jones, the, ground zero of this all. She's like the criminal number one of this. She actually is the reason for all of this. She produced the communications, but it also says they're attached in the format which they were produced with limited redactions of names and phone numbers to protect third parties' privacy. At all times, Miss Lively has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained, maintained, and produced. Miss Lively included all excerpts of communications as produced, which on information and belief were produced in the data, extractors, programs, default font, and format. For example, the absence of the emojis in the production format. Images such as emojis, when available in a preserved screenshot, for example, were attached as produced. So she's basically saying that we didn't involve some emojis because it wasn't used in the extraction program, which is such a joke because the programs like don't also take out certain text messages. They completely cut out lines, like statements, sentences. But she's only saying like, oh, we missed out on some of the emojis. Absolutely insanity. Okay, so we've seen all that. And then let's go on. Okay. In the weeks and months that followed, with the direction and approval of Wayfarer and Baldoni, the team engaged in a sophisticated, coordinated, and well-financed retaliation plan. Remember, this is just in her brain. There's no proof. The retaliation campaign relied on more than just publicists and crisis managers spinning stories. This is when Jed Wallace comes in, how he weaponized a digital army. Everyone, get your armies up. Get your armies up. Army up. Everyone, get your army. The army's up. We're the army. to create, seed, promote, and engage with content that appear to be authentic on social media. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwitting reporters, helping them make content go viral in order to influence public opinion and thereby cause an organic pile-on. To safeguard against the risk of Miss Lively ever revealing the truth about Mr. Baldoni, they engage in the same techniques to bolster Mr. Baldoni's credibility. So once again, we have absolutely no proof. Again, this is just by guessing, just because she just doesn't like that people don't like her. On August 10th, the day after the release, Mr. Nathan's team reports that they start to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's effort to shift the narrative. This is from Jennifer, or from someone to Jennifer. Hey team, so far extremely limited pickup on Daily Mailer page 6. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed, but so far it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue. Okay. But once again, you can pull and screenshot and cherry pick text messages just like she did on December 21st. But until you see the proof of actually what Jed did, and I will never believe that she has any proof on Jed, because why would Jed sue her? Remember, Jed Wallace sued Blake, even though he was never named in a lawsuit. He sued Blake because he said, F you for naming me without any proof. Why would Jed go out of his way to sue Blake if he knew that she was going to have proof that he did this? He wouldn't. She has no proof. She just doesn't like that people don't like her. That's it. She can't get it through the hair dye. And I say that as someone that has, hair dye, a lot of it. Okay, that same day, Miss Nathan noted that as part of the shift. We've seen all of this. Again, don't trust any of these randomly cherry-picked text messages, because again, it's exactly what she did on the 21st. And these are perfect. Why are we seeing all of, again, Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan's texts and none of Blake's? So I don't like it. It feels very, very, pointed towards just her story. Nothing. Is there anything new here? So this is when Miss Nathan on August 12th says, rather than Wayfarer was asked, this is good. Remember when Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, I should say annoying, disgusting, obnoxious Ryan Reynolds, sends William Morris that lovely apology letter. You guys remember that apology letter, right? The apology letter that says, Wayfarer, you should actually take responsibility for how badly production went. You guys should. And they said, for what? We remember that letter. I wasn't man enough, he said. Well, that letter, at this time, on August 12th, it says Wayfarer was asked to issue a statement to help correct the situation by accepting accountability for the production it oversaw. But rather than doing so, Miss Nathan then advised issuing such a statement would be such a career killer for Mr. Baldoni, who she urged to lawyer up and fight. But do you guys remember why she urged them to lawyer up and fight? I do. She urged him to lawyer up and fight because she said, I've never seen anything like this. Ryan Reynolds is going around to premieres and to parties calling you a sexual predator. They're going after you. They're going to William Morris and sending these kinds of letters. This is time to lawyer up and fight. She's telling no story. She's just telling her little side of her delusional story. Gross. Less than 1 week later, they brag about how they had shut down stories regarding HR complaints. Okay, cool. Don't believe a word you say anymore. As their own words reveal, the purpose of the social manipulation plan was twofold. Social manipulation is not even real. Okay, in just days, the retaliation complaint had resulted in the viral spread of hateful, threatening, and derogatory content directed at Miss Lively, her family. By her family, I don't know who that means, because this is in August. Did anyone write anything mean to anyone in her family other than Blake? And by the way, no one was writing anything mean to Blake. in August. Like, we just didn't like her because all these bad articles were coming out. So like we were starting to see the light. That's it. By August 14th, a female cast member texted her expressing feeling concerned and helpless. Maybe they were feeling concerned and helpless because they felt bad for her. How about that? Let's see the text messages once again. Thank you for the super sticker. Let's see the text messages. I bet they were sending a text message to Blake saying, I'm so sorry that you're getting so much hate. But we're not seeing it, right? A different female cast member wrote to Miss Lively on August 14th to ask whether she knew if Sony could help her address the cyberbullying she was experiencing. It's not saying if they were asking if Sony could help Blake address the cyberbullying. It sounds like it's asking if Sony could help the other actress address the cyberbullying. This is all about Blake, but Blake's not showing anything. So I can't believe any of it. Many individuals and businesses other than Miss Lively herself began to experience vitriol, harassment, and cyberbullying around this time, demonstrating the obvious falsity of defendants' self-serving insistence since Miss Lively's first complaint in this action that they engaged in no proactive measures and that this viral spread of online hatred was entirely the result of Miss Lively's own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film. Indeed, these facts are not in dispute. Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties have already admitted that Miss Lively raised concerns multiple times. They admitted that they created a plan in case she made her grievance public, in which they planned to plant stories suggesting Miss Lively was a bully and weaponizing feminism. They admitted that their team was able to bury anyone. They admitted that they bragged and laughed how negatively the narrative had shifted against Miss Lively. Oh my God, here we go. Okay, so we've already seen all of this. When Justin said, so these people seek justice at any cost. That's why I have a hard time believing she's done. Okay, again, out of context, I thought this was a very, very smart thing that he felt at the way end of everything, but she is, of course, taking it out of context. She says, despite all this, they claim their plan was never implemented and somehow the universe simply organically provided them with the exact result they planned for at the exact time they wanted it, using the exact narratives that they developed. The problem for defendants is that they put their plan for an untraceable campaign in writing, and the evidence shows them commenting on the success of their plan as it unfolded. In her opening complaint, Ms. Lively noted that she is informed and believes that Mr. Baldoni and his associates have additional astroturfing plans that they have prepared and are ready to launch at a moment's notice. That is precisely, we're the organic universe, by the way. That is precisely what occurred starting the moment that Ms. Lively sent a cease and desist letter to defendants on December 20th, including with it a copy of her administrative complaint with the CRD. Upon receiving the cease and desist letter, defendants leaked the administrative complaint to publications to get ahead of it, gave numerous statements to the press, including blatantly false and defamatory factual allegations, and began a near-daily media and social media blitz aimed at discrediting Miss Lively, Miss Lively's longtime publicist, Mr. Reynolds, Disney, the New York Times, and more. Wait, oh my God. Miss Lively sent a cease and desist letter to defendants on December 20th. So wait, Blake Lively sent a cease and desist to Wayfarer, to Justin, to all of these people on December 20th, saying you're not allowed to say a word, which is why we have not heard a word from Justin. We have not heard a word from Jamie. We have not heard a word from Melissa, Jen, or any of them. They have not said a word. Brian Friedman is not part of that cease and desist. He has not gotten anything from them, and he is the only one that is speaking. So technically, they have done nothing wrong. But she's saying they got a cease and desist, and yet all they're doing is making statements. Well, girl, that's what happens. You're going after them. They're allowed to defend themselves with an attorney. Wake up. Wake up. You're not allowed to just put it out there and attack someone for sexual freaking harassment. Go after them for the retaliation campaign. That's what she should have said. Say, they put a smear campaign on me. You called him a sexual harasser, which you know is kryptonite. That is the worst thing you can possibly do to a man in 2025 or in the last 5 years. That is the worst thing you can possibly do to a man in this world, is call him a sexual predator. And you did it. So you better expect him to defend himself. You're disgusting. Sorry. So don't cease and desist shit. You cannot go out there and say, you're a sexual predator and you're not allowed to talk. You don't own him like that. All defendants actively participated in the enhanced retaliation campaign. Defendants' counsel threatened numerous lawsuits to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion. A round of applause for our best friend, Brian Friedman, and proceeded to file 4 lawsuits in 3 jurisdictions with fantastical damages of hundreds of millions of dollars in each, and I would like to up it to $800 million after today. On information and belief, defendants' counsel has threatened both fact witnesses, neutral commentators, and publications with lawsuits for doing nothing more than speaking out or publicly reporting unfavorable information about the defendants. In some, with his own misconduct exposed. What misconduct? Making people uncomfortable. Blake, you have made me so fucking uncomfortable. Mr. Baldoni refused to take accountability for his own actions. I'm sorry. All I know is that Mr. Baldoni has taken accountability. All I've seen is him say, I'm sorry. He specifically said in a letter, he wrote, I'm sorry. He took note of his problems. He signed his apologies. He changed his behavior. Everything went well after the all hands meeting. What the fuck are you talking about? Sorry, you guys. I've never felt so angry as I have today. I think I've lost my mind. Are you with me or am I alone here? The fact that she actually thinks that this is okay is nuts. Instead, he called upon and then she uses his own words against him. Instead, he called upon Miss Sarowitz, Mr. Sarowitz, you know, the militaristic guy. That's in her words, not mine, to fund a legal press and astroturfing campaign again to ensure that Miss Lively and Miss Reynolds, that's her new words, would be forced to risk everything to come forward. The irony of Mr. Baldoni's response to Miss Lively speaking out is that his own publicist and co-defendant, Jennifer Abel, expressed her own dislike for Mr. Baldoni, declaring, I can't stand him, he's so pompous, and predicted that he would seek to blame others if necessary to protect himself. On January 14th, Miss Abel wrote that he doesn't need a retreat. He needs to be humbled. When this movie flops, he's going to try to blame every person around for it. She continued another message. So this is a message that they got from Justin's own PR person, Steph Jones, of course, the devil wears Prada, had sent out a message. This is in her lawsuit from Jen Abel talking to her own inner circle about her client. This sucks. I know this is very yucky for Justin's, legal side because everyone talks shit about their own clients. It's like a thing that happens. And obviously it doesn't feel good. And I'm sure Jen and Justin have had to have conversations about this, but obviously it sounds bad when it says he may fire us because even if we put together an amazing campaign, it's not going to change the fact that he's so unlikable and unrealistic as a leading man. There's no chemistry with him and Blake. You and I both know that you will be resistant to promote this movie and press will be reluctant to do with anything with Justin without Blake being part of it. So those are my thoughts, which sounds kind of bad, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And people talk shit about your own clients. Okay. It's not the end of the world. On December 21st and 22nd, 2024, a female cast member who had also complained shared with Miss Lively that she couldn't believe they could do this to her. And the fact that this was happening to Miss Lively was frightening to her. So this is right after the actual complaint came out. So I'm guessing it's Jenny Slate. Okay. I'm guessing it was Jenny Slate. As laid out in the amended, and a lot of you guys are asking, by the way, about Jen Abel. Like, what was the question, right? We're just getting Jen Abel's response. He may fire us, but we're not getting the whole context. And as you guys know, it's all about full context. So Jenny Slate probably, I'm guessing, or maybe it was Robin Lively. It could have been her sister. A female cast member who had also complained shared with her sister, what if it was her sister, that she couldn't believe they could do this to her and the fact that this was happening was frightening to her. Well, that actually really tracks. As laid out in this amended complaint, the Baldoni Wayfarer-led takedown of Miss Lively was the intended result of a carefully crafted, coordinated, and resourced retaliatory scheme to silence her and others from speaking out about the hostile environment and that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath created. Okay, parties. Obviously, we have Blake Lively, Wayfarer, Baldoni, Heath, Sarowitz. It ends with us, the movie, Melissa Nathan, the agency group, Jennifer Abel, Jed Wallace, street relations. No mention of Sony. No mention of Ange Gianetti. Interesting, right? Okay. Let me take a sip of water. How's everyone doing? Where are we on time? Okay, an hour and 20 minutes. We're getting through it. Thank you. By the way, you guys, have you subscribed to my show? This is a moment to take. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed below. I come here every day and I talk about all this stuff every single day. Subscribe and like Daily Dose of Donna. And if you're listening to the audio version, make sure to follow along. And please, please, please don't forget to rate 5 stars and leave a written review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It means the world to me. Please, please, please. Let's continue with the show. Okay. As just a few examples, on January 4th, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath, in their own capacities and as representatives of Wayfarer, met in person in New York with Miss Lively to discuss her concerns regarding Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's harassing behavior. Mr. Sarowitz threatened to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family while attending the premiere. Miss Abel worked as an employee. Oh, this is just like going through their relationships. Okay, that doesn't really matter. Where should I go? Where should I go with this? Okay, here we go. During that time, okay. This is about their dance scene. How about that? Now, she changed a lot in her original complaint versus her newer complaint about the dance scene, okay? So let's get into it and let's talk about the difference, okay? There's a difference between what she said in the first and what she said in the second. Hold on. I have it saved. So in her first complaint, I want to read what she had in her first complaint about the dancing. Well, let's just first go through this really fast. On another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage, meaning that none of the sound recorded while filming the scene. Music was intended to play out this music was intended to play over the action. Nonetheless, microphones were live to pick up room tone, but not conversations or dialogue to be used in the film. The scene in the script specifically described dancing without dialogue and did not include any intimate conduct or kissing. And then it shows the part in the script. Mr. Baldoni did not provide notice or seek consent for any intimacy in advance. Instead, Mr. Baldoni chose to spontaneously improvise the scene while the cameras were rolling. During the filming, Mr. Baldoni reportedly leaned in towards Miss Lively, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, putting his thumb to her mouth and flicking her lower lip, caressing her, and telling her how good she smells. None of this took place while Mr. Baldoni was in character as Ryle, because both the intimacy and dialogue departed from what had been in the script. Miss Lively was uncomfortable and kept leaning away and repeatedly suggesting and then begging that their characters should just talk. She tried to use levity and creative pleas to deflect the unwanted touching, hoping to get through the scene in a way that maintained a professional boundary without antagonizing Mr. Baldoni. Oh my God, she's cuckoo. It says the fact that Miss Lively varied the number of kisses in the other scenes in which the kissing was scripted in advance does not justify Mr. Baldoni's improvisations or his attempts to add graphic sex scenes into the film. In other scenes, the kissing was consistent with the plot. It had structure and blocking, and most importantly, it was discussed in advance and was mutually consensual. There can be flexibility in such scenes, but it must be within appropriate boundaries, and the key is in advanced planning and consent. Mr. Baldoni acted without planning, without consent, and grossly outside of acceptable boundaries. He made it personal and repeated even after Miss Lively spoke up and became defensive and dismissive when challenged, no matter how politely she mentioned it. Dude. Then it continues. The video footage of the scene shows Miss Lively to be trapped. Having to appear as though her character was happy and in love while the cameras were rolling. Miss Lively did not want to film additional takes on the scene, but continued to participate, to be a team player and support the production in real time while simultaneously expressing and holding physical boundaries against Mr. Baldoni's advances. Miss Lively even referred to Mr. Baldoni as a sociopath at one point during the exchange. Notwithstanding Miss Lively's attempts at humor and levity, her words, actions, and body language all evince her lack of consent. When Miss Lively later objected to this behavior, Miss Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." What? When? When did we see that? In January of 2025, the defendants, through their attorney, Brian Friedman, released this video to the media, apparently hoping that the mere act of releasing the footage would mislead the public into believing it shows nothing abnormal or improper. But the footage by itself corroborates Miss Lively's description of the scene to the letter. That is not just Miss Lively's view. As Mia Schachter, wait, was this Mia Schachter that intimacy coordinator or a different one? Which one was Mia Schachter? Is she the one that we... Mia Schachter. Oh my God, is Mia Schachter the one that we talked about? Oh my God, I'm so excited about Mia Schachter. You guys, we have to pull up Mia Schachter again. Oh my God, I'm going to show you again who Mia Schachter is. I can't believe they actually used this. Oh my God, I'm dead. I'm dead that they used her in the lawsuit. Oh my God, did they? Please don't tell me that they took it off of her thing, her bio. Oh my God. Oh my God. We have to show Mia Schachter again. This is the best part. This is the intimacy coordinator. No judgment. No judgment. I'm just presenting facts.
Are you? I'm Mia Schachter. I'm a writer and an artist. I teach consent, and I'm an intimacy coordinator for TV, film, and theater, but I'd say primarily a writer. I'm a pet mom, pet parent to 3 cats and a dog. I'm a millennial. I've been feeling like a stereotypical millennial lately as like a non-binary, polyamorous, bisexual, gluten-intolerant, multi-hyphenate artist. You know, it's like textbook shit, but yeah, that's who I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mia Schachter. Let's get back to the lawsuit. Okay. They just pick some random intimacy coordinator who's a cat mom, gluten intolerant, bisexual, millennial, that like, I don't even know. Like, what? She didn't even work on the film. She does not, I don't think she knows the clit test or passes the clit test. It's wild. Okay. So Mia Schachter thinks that she was uncomfortable. Good to know, Mia. Okay, we already talked about Mia. Fine, great, cool. Miss Lively complained about inappropriate behavior. And by the way, that video was totally up to Like, it was eye of the beholder, right? Because half the people, if you wanted to be on Blake's side, you saw that as her being uncomfortable. Look at Nick Viall, right? Nick Viall was like, she looked so uncomfortable. But if you were on Justin's side, you would see that and be like, that looked just like a normal scene. So that's all that we saw there, you know? Miss Lively complained about inappropriate behavior as early as May 2023, which occurred without an intimacy coordinator present, which ultimately led to Wayfarer and Sony agreeing with Miss Lively that the consistent presence of an intimacy coordinator was not only reasonable, but essential. Miss Lively, contrary to defendants' assertions elsewhere, Miss Lively did not refuse to meet with film's intimacy coordinator. She said she did not need to meet with her before production started because there were no intimate scenes in the immediate future, so they could talk once production began. Miss Lively did have a call with the intimacy coordinator during preparations. Those conversations happened close in time to the filming of the relevant scenes. Elsewhere, Mr. Baldoni has blamed the intimacy coordinator, we talk about clits, for supposedly writing graphic news sex scenes, including foreplay and orgasms, and talking about a clit. But Miss Lively consented to the sex scenes in the script as written at the time she signed on to the film. And Mr. Baldoni did not have consent to rewrite and add sex scenes, even if he did so with an intimacy coordinator. The purpose of the intimacy coordinator is to work with the actors to establish the appropriate boundaries based on what is in the script, not to rewrite the script to add more sexual content to satisfy the director's demands. So what is the point? So Mr. Baldoni inserted improvised gratuitous sexual content and or scenes involving nudity into the film, including for an underage character, in highly unsettling ways. After Miss Lively signed onto the movie based on a draft of the script, Mr. Baldoni, without Miss Lively's knowledge or consent, personally added graphic content, including a scene in which Miss Lively was to orgasm on camera. When Miss Lively objected to these additions, Mr. Baldoni insisted he had added them because he was making the film through the female gaze. Although he agreed to remove the scenes, he made a last-ditch attempt to keep one in which the couple orgasmed together on their wedding night, which he said was important to him because he and his partner climaxed simultaneously during intercourse. Mr. Baldoni then intrusively asked Miss Lively whether she and her husband climaxed simultaneously during intercourse, which Miss Lively found invasive and refused to discuss. Okay. Still, honestly, maybe a little uncomfortable to talk about, even if it did happen. Totally not grounds for sexual harassment. Like, truly. So she is the alleged third complainant then. That's what Camila is saying. She is. Absolutely. I think it's just her and Jenny Slate. I don't think Isabella is. On the day of shooting the scene in which Miss Lively's character gives birth. No, you know what? I think Isabella is only part of this because she's one of the people that sent her a text saying, "Are you okay?" That's it. I think Isabella is one of the people that's sending her a text saying, "I feel so bad that you're getting cyberbullied." That's it. You have to remember that Blake Lively is totally allowed to talk about sex, porn, boobs, everything on her own. She's just not allowed, like, she just can't have it come from her director. And fine, like, I'm not saying that it's okay that he talked to her about this if this is actually the case. And once again, it's hearsay because everything Blake says now I question. I really do. But it's just so frustrating. Hold on, here's a question. You made my afternoon better again. Is this Fred? Like Fred Barnall, my man? Question: if Blake is proven to make false and exaggerated sexual harassment complaints, can there be retaliation by Justin? Zach had 2 lawyers interview saying if she is not credible, once she is screwed. That's what someone asked that once on like TMZ or something. What is the repercussions if not only if she gets found that he is innocent of sexual harassment and like he gets off of, not being guilty of the retaliation complaint and sexual harassment, like, can't he countersue of saying you actually like ruined my life with this, Thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh, my bestie, Tony Brooks. I love you. You've been here with me throughout all of this. Thank you so much for you. You're so sweet for the super chat. I really appreciate that. I have no idea exactly. I think that if anything, yeah, maybe a little uncomfortable. I think this would be an uncomfortable conversation. I'm taking her word for this. If they did have this orgasm conversation, if this was really true, where he said, I do want us to orgasm together as Lily and Ryle, I think it would make for a really important moment, like a connection moment on the night of our wedding as our characters. Have you ever had that with Ryan? Yeah, I do think that would be an uncomfortable conversation. Sexual harassment, I can't say that that would be grounds for sexual harassment. I really wouldn't, especially given every other thing that is part of this movie. And I also think that would be a moment for an intimacy coordinator to be present. Why wouldn't she say, let's have a conversation with the intimacy coordinator? Let's bring in the script supervisor. Why don't we bring in the screenwriter? Why don't we bring in the producers to have these conversations? Just open your mouth. You're Blake Lively, aren't you? You're the head of HR, aren't you? Everyone's coming to you to complain about things. Why don't you open your mouth? Why don't you speak up? Why don't you start talking? Also, she admits she knows the script was a draft, meaning it can change. That's not a crime. 100%. It's like working for her and then working against her. On the day of shooting, the scene in which Miss Lively character gives birth, the chaotic birth, the Beetlejuice birth. Mr. Baldoni and Miss Heath suddenly pressure Miss Lively to simulate full nudity despite no mention of nudity for the scene. Because we give birth in, you guys didn't realize that this is Handmaid's Tale. They give birth in the full clothing. Her name is now Of Ryle. If you guys get that reference, then 100 points. Of Ryle. Character gives birth, simulate full nudity despite no mention of nudity for this scene. In the script, her exerted below her contract or in previous creative descriptions. Okay. Hold on. Do I have a troll in the comments? I feel like I do. I feel like someone's calling me out for something. Donna is awful one-sided. Oh, yeah, I do. I have to call you. I have to call it out because Bev is here. I am one-sided now. You're right. I wasn't. I really tried. For those of you that are new here, I really tried not to be one-sided. I tried so hard to give her the benefit of the doubt. I was fully Team Blake. Day 1 through 10, I was Team Blake. Then when Justin came back, I was like, oh, I think I have to see it both sides. And I tried really hard to be. But now she had her shot. I was saying, let's wait until she comes back. She has to have something. Because maybe. But now I see what she has. And I just don't think she has it. Okay. And now Justin's my son. My best friend, my son. Okay. So this is the script, and it says Mr. Baldoni insisted that women give birth naked, and his wife had ripped her clothes off during labor. He claimed it was not normal for women to remain in their hospital gowns while giving birth. Number one, once again, we absolutely don't need, this is just all wording. We haven't actually seen anything in writing. We have no idea if he actually said this. Do we think that Justin really said, oh, every woman gives birth naked? You completely take off your entire gown. It says, generally, nudity below the waist in film utilizes a small piece of nude fabric glued around the female's actor's genitalia to provide some minimal privacy without disturbing the shot. So he apparently, according to Blake, said, you take off your entire gown. Do you really think that Justin said that? I'm curious. Do you guys truly believe that Justin Baldoni said to Blake, you rip off your entire gown when you're in labor? I just don't see it. I don't see him saying that, but I could be wrong. When the birth scene was filmed, the set was chaotic, crowded, and utterly lacking in standard industry protections for filming nude scenes. Please, someone, please, if you were on the set of It Ends With Us, please, I will keep you anonymous. DM me, call me, email me. I will send you money. Please tell me what that set was like that day. I promise you I'll keep you anonymous. I'll send you donuts, like something. Okay. Such as choreographing the scene with an intimacy coordinator, having assigned nudity writer, simply turning off the monitor so the scene was not broadcast to all crew on sets. Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni also failed to close the set. Again, she thinks that everyone was there. But remember, she has her story, and Justin already came back and said, it is physically impossible. Sarowitz wasn't there. We have proof he wasn't there. He didn't come that day. She also said that his best friend was playing the role of the OBGYN. And she doesn't mention that he's also an actual actor. He has a SAG card. He went to school for acting. I want to see all of, we saw the call sheet for who was on set that day. So he's already refuted these claims. It said to add insult to injury, Mr. Heath approached with the video of the fully nude woman with her legs spread apart. Miss Lively thought he was showing her pornography. Oh my God, is this porn? Mr. Heath explained that the video was his wife giving birth. Miss Lively was alarmed. No, not birth. Asked Mr. Heath if his wife knew he was sharing the video, to which he replied, she isn't weird about this stuff. As if Miss Lively was weird for not welcoming it. You're weird, Lively. Miss Lively and her assistant excused themselves, stunned that Mr. Heath had shown them a nude video. Mr. Baldoni added a detailed scene to the film in which the underage version of Miss Lively character, Lily, loses her virginity. I love how they keep saying the underage character. She's 24. In both the book and the script for the film, there was no sex scene. Instead, the details about this moment were left to the audience's imagination. But Mr. Baldoni added in considerable details, which was particularly concerning to Miss Lively, given Mr. Baldoni's other behavior and directorial choices as detailed in this complaint. I would love to hear from the screenwriter, Christy Hall, on this one. I would love to hear from Christy Hall to know who actually wrote in the sex scene here. Does anyone know? I want to know. These additional details include both dialogue between young Lily and Atlas about the loss of her virginity, as well as a simulated sex scene in which Mr. Baldoni filmed, and included in his initial cut of the film, a brief close-up of young Lily's face, accompanied by an audible gasp at the moment of penetration. What is wrong with her? She actually seems like a little bit of a sicko. Miss Lively was informed that when the scene was shot, after Mr. Baldoni called cut, he walked over to the actors and said, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but that was hot. Did you two practice this before? Oh my God. I want to hear, well, Isabella was for sure probably was paid. Like Isabella was probably paid to say something. She's going to probably come on the stand and say this. I want to know from, young Atlas, if this was actually said this. If it was actually said, I'm so annoyed by this. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath discussed their personal sexual experiences and previous porn addiction and tried to pressure Miss Lively to reveal details about her intimate life. So can you imagine that Jamie and Justin are just like, hey, what's for lunch today? Let's talk about our porn addiction. Yeah. I love talking about porn on shit. Like with their hands in their pants. That's what she makes them out to be. Like these nasty, disgusting Hollywood porn addicts. That's what she makes them sound like. They're disgusting, sex-crazed, porn, disgusting men. And trust me when I tell you, I have worked on disgusting sets with disgusting, actual men that probably did go in the bathroom to jerk off between scenes. And I don't think these guys were them. Like, I actually was propositioned to go under tables to give BJs when I was 21 years old. This is so upsetting to me. This is why I think I'm so angry by this. Because I actually don't think this is who they were. If they did speak about their porn addiction, it was never, because this is what they do. It was never done in a like, hey, what about that porn addiction that we have? Like, it was done in probably a respectful way to help through the scene or to talk about it, to talk about how they've changed or whatever. I don't think that this was done in a way that yeah, let's just roast people out around us. Okay. This is the car ride. I wonder who Blake Lively's assistant is. We need to know who Blake Lively's assistant is. This is with the driver and the assistant. So remember, these are people that are on Blake Lively's team, paid by Blake Lively. So obviously they are 1,000% Blake Lively's side. In this car, Baldoni claimed to Miss Lively that he had been sexually abused by a former girlfriend, which he has since shared publicly. At the end of this story, Baldoni shared that it had caused him to re-examine his past. He said, "Did I always ask for consent? No. Did I always listen when they said no? No." Mr. Baldoni claimed that this was an example of how we all have things from which we can learn and grow. See, there you go. That's what he talks about it to say how he's changed, how he's grown. But Miss Lively was alarmed that he had engaged in sexual conduct without consent. What? You had sex without consent? Meanwhile, he had just talked about how he was abused by a former girlfriend. When Miss Lively exited the car, her driver immediately remarked that he didn't want her to be alone with him. Later in July, in connection with another discussion, Miss Lively recounted this consent story to a female cast member. It's crazy how above reproach they feel. It's like he said to me about his previous sexual encounters when we were in my car. He said, "Have I always asked for consent?" So again, here's another text message with another female cast member, probably her sister, with no proof, no screenshots. "Have I always listened when they said no? No. People show you who they are. Believe them the first time." Someone said in the comments saying the driver probably didn't want Blake to cheat on Ryan. That's probably why they didn't want them to be alone. Oh my God. That's so interesting. The driver was probably told by Ryan, never get them to be alone in the car together. Isn't that genius? That's so true. In fact, Mr. Baldoni publicly acknowledges that he's struggled with consent. He echoed language similar to the words he spoke to Miss Lively in that car ride in a podcast interview when he admitted that he had crossed boundaries and lines in his teens and 20s with respect to obtaining consent. When he said, "You start to think that that's what women want. And in porn, as you know, no means yes or try harder." Wait, so that he's admitted to his flaws once again? This is now you're weaponizing someone's acknowledgement to them making mistakes in their past as a problem? Blake, why don't you make mistakes and admit them? Why don't you try owning up to your mistakes? If you've actually said sorry for all of your asshole behavior in the past, maybe we would actually look at you as a different person now in 2025. God, I'm like holding myself back from wanting to call her what I actually feel. On the first day of production, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath described their past sexual relationships to Miss Lively, including that one of them used to hook up with a woman. Okay. Mr. Baldoni said that he had decided that she wasn't the one, so then Mr. Heath had gotten together with her. Miss Lively found this description of passing along to a woman to be disrespectful and disturbing. I want to die. There's no way they had this conversation. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. Okay. If you've ever worked on a movie set or a TV show or any sort of work environment where you're friendly, it's first day of production. They've been working in pre-production, late hours, rehearsals, etc. They're friends. They're clearly getting along. It's not like they just met and they were like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Jamie. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Blake. I used to date this girl." They were friendly. They're all hanging out. They're having casual conversations. Don't tell me that Blake didn't also tell them some wild stories about how she used to F, one of her ex-boyfriends. I have no idea who the hell Blake used to date, Ben Affleck. I'm sure Justin knows stories about Ben Affleck's penis. Okay? I'm sure she does. I'm pissed. So now she's using the story where Justin and Jamie were just probably casually chatting with a friend who they thought and using it against him. Oh, I don't like this idea of passing people around. Go listen to that Beyond the Blinds episode again, where everyone said that Blake was the girl that was passed around Hollywood. Guys, Blake was that girl. Just saying. No issues with that, but she was that girl. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath often spoke about their previous pornography addiction. I can't. I'm so done with her. Okay, so they're talking about porn. Mr. Baldoni engaged in other behaviors that were shocking and emotionally distressing. For example, he could speak to the dead, and on several occasions told her that he had spoken to her recently deceased father. On one occasion where he claimed to have spoken with her dead father, she attempted to deflect the comment with humor, telling him, let him know he owes me $40. Mr. Baldoni replied, wait, does he really? Miss Lively was shocked that Mr. Baldoni was pushing the conversation further and replied with another attempt at humorous deflection, stating, oh God, no, he owes me so much more than that. Mr. Baldoni then closed his eyes, put his hand on his heart and said, I was leaving my apartment this morning and I reached into my pocket and there was $40 in there that I did not put there. This exchange deeply disturbed Miss Lively, and it was not, as defendants have since claimed, limited to Mr. Baldoni simply claiming to pray for her father. So he did something nice. He did something nice, and she's turning it against him. 1,000%, this makes me hate her. Anyone that reads this and turns on him more is Irma. Irma is all of us right now. What does any of this have to do with sexual assault? Holisticology. What the fuck are we reading? Justin, I'm suing my mother for the disturbing time she told me my dad was visiting every time she sees a blue jay. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Wait, yeah, K Short says, where's the fat shaming stuff now? Maybe we'll get to it. I can't handle it, you guys. I'm done. I'm done. This is too much. It's too much. Yeah, Victoria said something really important. He shared too much information. Big mistake. He was too nice to her. He should have just like not talked to her. Okay. He was just being nice. Mr. Baldoni often referred to women in the workplace as sexy. Honestly, he could call me sexy. Seriously, please. Dear God, I pray that by the end of today, Justin Baldoni calls Donna Bowling sexy. For example, on one occasion, Miss Lively observed he told a female cast member that her leather pants looked sexy when she arrived to the set. When she rebuffed his comment because she was uncomfortable, rather than apologizing, he brushed it off with, I can say that because my wife is here today. Miss Lively felt embarrassed witnessing this kind of commentary, as did others. Miss Lively, I feel embarrassed by you. Defendants have claimed that Mr. Baldoni's description of female cast members of sexy was justified the fact that Miss Lively also sometimes used the word sexy on set. You guys. Another day with, okay, so she says sexy, but he can't say sexy. Okay. On another day, Miss Lively wore a low-cut dress to facilitate breastfeeding, but had it covered up with a coat. When the jacket briefly popped open at one point to reveal the dress, Baldoni commented how much he liked her outfit. It flustered Miss Lively. Oh my God, should we pull up the scene of her being on Jimmy Fallon where someone said nice tweets and then she was mad that they didn't say nice tits? Then it's about the outfit when he was wearing the onesie. She was wearing the onesie and he wanted to see her onesie under the coat because it was zipped low to reveal her lace bra. He said, I think you look sexy in a tone that made her feel ogled and exposed. With other female cast members present, she said, that's not what I'm going for. He bristled and replied, I'm sorry, hot. Deeply uncomfortable, Miss Lively said, not that either. Mr. Baldoni responded sarcastically, I guess I missed the HR meeting, and walked away. Another woman on the production spoke to Miss Lively afterwards to offer empathy and to share her own similar experiences, with Mr. Baldoni commenting about her in sexual terms. I mean, I would never want to hang out with this cast after dark. Like, this cast sounds, they're not invited to Doser Fest. They're not invited to Doser after dark. Like, seriously, we're having Dosers after dark in August, and none of the cast of It Ends With Us except Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath. And Brian Friedman. Those guys are invited. No one else is invited. I don't want any of those girls invited because they will ruin the fun. They are fun killers. No one can ever work with women like these again. Like, no man should ever work with these women. As a result of Mr. Baldoni's behavior on May 29th, another cast member lodged a sexual harassment complaint about Mr. Baldoni's gross and unwanted comments towards her and others. Okay, here we go. A sexual harassment complaint. Where? To who? Where is it? I want to see the complaint. It's just saying there's a complaint. We don't have evidence of it. While on the one hand, Mr. Baldoni was objectifying Miss Lively as a sex object, on the other hand, he went out of his way to message criticisms of her age and weight. On the second day of filming, for example, Mr. Baldoni made the rest of the cast and crew wait for hours while he cried in her dressing room, claiming social media commentators were saying that she looked old and unattractive based on paparazzi photos. She tried to reassure him that she should look authentic in the scenes depicted in the photos, which were just after her character had been abused by her husband rather than hot. Mr. Baldoni, however, appeared focused on Lively's sexual appeal above all else. To make matters worse, when Miss Lively tried to have a meeting with Mr. Heath and the other producers to discuss Mr. Baldoni's unprofessional behavior described above, the meeting turned into yet another violation. Rather than an ordinary meeting time and place, Mr. Heath arrived unannounced in the makeup trailer while she was topless, having her body makeup removed. She told him that she was almost done and they can meet when she was clothed. However, he insisted that if she did not allow him into her trailer to speak to him at that moment, there would be no meeting with the other producers. So she reluctantly agreed, but she asked him to keep his back turned. A few minutes into the conversation, she noticed that he was staring directly at her while she was topless. When she called him out, he brushed it off as a habit of wanting to look at a person while speaking to them. Miss Lively and her hair and makeup artist were all deeply disturbed by this interaction on just the second day of filming. Throughout filming, they invaded her privacy by entering the makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, when she was breastfeeding her infant child. She did this frequently because she was also not given breaks to feed her baby. She didn't expect or consent to anyone entering her private spaces while topless, exposed, and vulnerable with her newborn. They both showed a shocking lack of boundaries. Defendants have claimed that these intrusions were her fault because she texted Baldoni on one occasion because she was just pumping in her trailer. This misunderstands the difference between a woman pumping and, breastfeeding. It's also talking about the fact that she was not given proper lactation breaks by Wayfarer, which sometimes stretch into 6 hours without a break. She also got painful mastitis because of this. You guys, she got mastitis also because of production. Which basically means that when you don't breastfeed and extract the milk from your breasts often enough, you get mastitis. So they're responsible for everything. So then they're talking basically that Mr. Baldoni has repeatedly preached the importance of consent while giving media interviews, but doesn't have consent in his own personal behavior, displays breathtaking hypocrisies. Mr. Baldoni also routinely degraded her by finding back-channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. Oh, this is the fat shaming. A few weeks before filming began, less than 4 months after Lively had given birth to her fourth child, she was humiliated to learn that he secretly called her fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission. What? They hooked him up with her. They hooked them up. Don Saladino was hooked up to Justin through Blake and Ryan. He secretly called her fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission and had implied that he wanted her to lose weight in 2 weeks. Mr. Baldoni told the trainer that he had asked because he was concerned about having to pick up Miss Lively for a scene in the movie, but there was no such scene. In later text messages sent to his team, Mr. Baldoni referred to Miss Lively's trainer as a damn spy and sought to plant stories to portray his concerns as being motivated by his lower back pain. Oh my God, there was an actual scene, you guys. There was an actual scene. It was there. We saw it in his complaints. Okay. Everything's fine. Lance is just like us. He's uncomfortable. We're all don't sue me. Let's all sue Blake. The people versus Blake. The dosers versus Blake Lively. The bots versus Blake. Oh my God, do you think we have a case? There was a scene. He had proof. She's gaslighting us. Miss Lively was not alone in her interview, in her view that Baldoni's discussion with the trainer was uncomfortable. On January 29th, following the $400 million lawsuit, Miss Lively's trainer edited the caption of an Instagram post. We talked about this, you guys. He edited the caption of that post with Miss Lively and his wife to share his views on the issue. He wrote that since he had originally posted the picture, there have been negative comments on this post, negative comments sent to my wife, and believe it or not, negative comments sent to my children. How old are his children? Are they on Instagram? How old are all these people's children? He explained that Justin Baldoni is not my client. I created a complimentary program for him as a favor to my client. He noted that he had helped him find a coach, and after an uncomfortable conversation, communicated ended. Okay, clearing the shit up. Don Saladino went behind Justin Baldoni's back and went to his lover, quote unquote alleged, just kidding, not really, but he was obsessed with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. That's who he had his connection to. He obviously had a very strong relationship with them. And he said to them that Justin Baldoni asked how much Blake Lively weighs. I don't remember him ever asking or saying he said you need to lose weight, but he asked how much she weighs because he needed to see how much she weighed so that he could prepare to know how much he had to pick her up for his back in a scene that we saw was written for the movie. So of course he's going to get hate because he tattled. This is a public case. So he's not, it's not bots, but he's getting hate. Justin's getting hate. Blake's getting hate. Ryan's getting hate. Guess what, guys? I'm also getting hate. Anyone that's reporting on the story is getting hate. I'm sure, what's it called? I'm sure pro Blakers are getting hate. Pro Justins are getting hate. Brian Friedman's getting hate. Like everyone involved in this case publicly is getting hate. That's just the way this world works. If you're speaking, you're getting hate. But like, that's just this is how the game works. When Miss Lively caught strep throat, Mr. Baldoni offered as a gift to connect her with an expert he had on retainer to help her with probiotics and to combat the sickness. When Miss Lively went out to fill the privacy form, she saw the expert was not what Mr. Baldoni had represented her to be, but a weight loss specialist. Fucking bitch. Miss Lively felt once again that Mr. Baldoni was shaming her for her body and weight. Feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath also failed to implement COVID protocols when there was a COVID outbreak on set. Okay, we got to move on. This is psychotic. As the studio, okay, this is when Wayfarer does not investigate anything. Okay, as a studio producing the film, Wayfarer fails to provide Miss Lively with even rudimentary employment protections such as an employee handbook, sexual harassment policy, information, or any training on sexual harassment, discrimination, or respectful workplace expectations. Well, that I don't know anything about, and that I can't fight on. I do remember there was some sort of like meeting that everyone took place in. It was in the timeline of Justin's. There was like an all hands meeting, right? Wasn't there? Do you guys remember that? There was like an all hands meeting not an all hands meeting like in January, but there was a meeting that was in Justin's timeline that everyone took place in. It was like a behavior meeting right before production that everyone was in. Do you guys remember that? Oh, and let me just remind everyone, this is a time to make sure, are you subscribed? Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. It's a huge deal for this show. Please, please, please make sure you to subscribe and hit that like button. Let's continue on with the show. So they did have a meeting right before everyone started production. So I don't know what she's talking about, but she's saying that Wayfarer didn't provide anything. Wayfarer also failed to provide information about the process and procedure for filing human resource complaints. I can't speak on this. I have no idea if they did or didn't. Wayfarer was legally obligated to address HR-related concerns. To Miss Lively's knowledge, Wayfarer lacked any process. Can't speak on that. Wayfarer, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Heath received or were aware of a number of HR grievances. They admitted as much as from day one. For example, on first day of filming, while attempting to hug Miss Lively's employee, Mr. Heath said, "I don't know if we're even allowed to do this. It's day one and we have an HR report already." Oh, so they made a joke. I guess you're not allowed to make a joke. Awesome. Like, what kind of a world are we living in that you can't even joke on set? He hugged? Okay, Lance says, yes, as someone that's been on production, it's part of the creative process. This has been to court before in the writer's room. You're talking about the meetings, the HR meetings and like the harassment meetings. You have to do it before production. There's no way that they didn't have these meetings before you start production. They had to have had these meetings. Okay. But maybe Blake was just like not part of the meetings. Maybe they don't bring the A-list people into the meetings. Okay. It says messages with witnesses prove that Lively's concerns about Baldoni and Heath began early in the pre-production and production process before editorial process began. Because of the lack of protocols, Lively struggled to find a way to navigate the increasingly troubling behavior. May 23rd, during a particularly difficult day on set, she and a female cast member talked to each other about how uncomfortable they were both feeling. The same cast member reached out to Lively by text to express appreciation and relief to be able to commiserate about their shared experiences. Lively, upset with the inappropriate working conditions to which they were both being subjected, thanked her for her support in speaking up, writing, "Thank you for the time to say this." Again, we're not seeing text messages. "Thank you for the time to say this. Thank you also for taking your time at your lunch. I felt untethered today and you grounded me. I'm sorry for what you've experienced. I wish you would have been there to witness it for you, and not that you need me to, but I'm sure you would have loved to have you run my mouth about it. Thank you for not only witnessing me, but for coming in with such eloquent and safe backup. You were really able to be bold without being inflammatory, which is such a tightrope, and I really appreciate it." What does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't say anything about anything. She could have been talking about anything. It doesn't say anything about Justin. It doesn't say anything about Heath. It doesn't say shit. She could have been talking about her lunch being bad. It's so wild. And also, she could have been talking to her sister. What happened on May 23rd? What was the day of May 23rd? I want to pull up his complaint right now. Who has his complaint nearby? Can someone pull up what happened on May 23rd and let me know? On May 24th, both Miss Lively and the female cast member discussed how they were both feeling uneasy. Miss Lively confided that she felt like she needs to say something tonight after wrap, but that she's not sure how to navigate it. The same day, Miss Lively confided in another woman who is a mutual friend. This is when she goes to Liz Plank. Okay, so we're doing this again. And this is when they decide to go to Angie Giannetti, who's from Sony. She Lively spoke to Angie Giannetti for 45 minutes, who was supportive. Giannetti then texted Miss Lively, said, "What I did want to review and discuss feels very, very small in light of today's news. I'm so sorry, calling you in moments." Okay, so on the 24th, the 25th, May 23rd, 24th, 25th, it feels like something's happening. It's like she's spiraling. She's starting to bring everyone very, very angry. She's talking to everyone. Ashley's saying, "But Donna," and I don't know why. But Donna what? Someone tell me what you're saying, but Donna. Okay, Leo's saying, at the end of shoot day number 6 is May 23rd. On May 22nd, Baldoni praises Lively. In turn, Lively expresses her regard and appreciation for Baldoni while acknowledging she could be difficult. May 23rd was the birth scene. Yeah, it was the birth scene. So she was just, May 23rd was the onesie scene. So it was right around these days. And it sounds to me like she was just like she was just like struggling and talking to these girls, and these girls are obviously going to, you know, her. And think about it. Can you just imagine Blake Lively is going to you, and May 23rd is the shoot day number 7, and where Blake felt ogled and exposed, and she got offended that she had something in her teeth. I totally remember this. Okay, so this is what's happening. You can imagine Blake Lively is like the A-list actress on the set. The other girls are B-list, you know, Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferrer. They're kind of like not really big names, right? And so everyone wants to kiss ass to Blake Lively on set. So Blake is like, I'm really feeling stressed out. Like, I'm just not feeling really happy, and I'm like not really feeling supported by him. And Isabella's like, I'm so sorry you're not feeling good. I like just feel so bad. Or Jenny's like, I just feel so bad. I'm really sorry. And she's like, I know, I just don't feel comfortable. And Jenny's like, yeah, me either. I don't feel comfortable either. I get it, sweetie. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do, babe? Should we call Taylor Swift? Like, I love you, and I'm so sorry. Done. That's it. How easy is it to turn them against him? Done. That's it. Nothing happened. And then she calls Angie Giannetti from Sony, who is like on her best behavior, trying to, whatever she has to do, cannot piss off Blake Lively. She knows Blake Lively can be difficult. This is a rumor already in Hollywood. Blake Lively can be difficult. Do not piss Blake off. Get Blake to be happy. Blake is known to be difficult. Keep Blake Lively happy. So Blake Lively and Angie Giannetti talk for 45 minutes, and Angie says, I am so sorry. Everything will be okay. In that conversation with Giannetti on May 26th, that day, after either the birthing scene or after the onesie scene, one of those kind of dance scenes, whatever, Miss Lively tells her that she wants to file an HR complaint about Baldoni and Mr. Heath's misconduct. Although she was sympathetic, Giannetti told Miss Lively that Sony is not empowered to oversee physical production, which included Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behavior on set, and that such concerns must be raised with Wayfarer, the studio responsible for the production. Miss Lively was concerned with this response because Baldoni and Heath were the chairman and CEO of Wayfarer, and Mr. Baldoni was the director of the film. Miss Lively did not believe that either Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath would investigate their own alleged misconduct, and that disbelief was proven by subsequent events. So then what do? You go to fucking SAG. You go to a higher power. You don't just leave it. That's what you do. You go up. You call your agent. You call Ari. You call Ari Emanuel and you say, Sony can't do anything. I don't want to go to the people who are making me feel uncomfortable and harassing me. I don't want to go to them and say, you are making me feel uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. Help me, agent. Help me. What the fuck? In the meantime, following through on her prior text, the female cast member also had her managers contact Ms. Giannetti to discuss that cast member's own discomfort with behavior by Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath and its negative impact on the work. Okay, so this is Jenny Slate. I'm convinced Jenny Slate had talked to her agent and manager, and they spoke to Ms. Giannetti too. The remainder of the text exchange shows how both women shared concerns about speaking up and the potential consequences of doing so. Ms. Lively shared that she needed to tread carefully to salvage some degree of chemistry and camaraderie with Justin, who's not only my director but love interest, and we're not even 1/3 of the way done with filming. The two women then recounted their discomfort with their experiences with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath, including one incident in which Mr. Baldoni secretly recorded them. Where is that? What is that? Can we get more details? Has anyone ever heard about that secretly recording? And another in which he made an unwelcome remark about the female cast member's wardrobe. Miss Lively noted that Mr. Baldoni once asked her if he crossed a line, and when she said yes, he made a joke that he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting. Miss Lively and the female cast member discussed various examples of their uncomfortable and inappropriate interactions with Mr. Baldoni. And on May 28th, Miss Lively explains that her concerns were not just with Mr. Baldoni's behavior, but the way that Mr. Baldoni behaved after being confronted with his line-crossing behavior. He keeps referencing it or disconnects entirely or gets snippy and impatient as a director. He was so huffy after the sexy thing. I felt awful for saying something. Who's she saying that to? Where is that coming from? Where is this line coming from? Can we see evidence? The same day, Miss Lively continued by observing that both she and the female cast member are people who are not people who can't take a joke. Okay. The same day, Miss Lively continued by observing that both she and the female cast member are not people who can't take a joke or who can't work or understand blue. We're not that fragile. Referencing Mr. Baldoni, she said, "You just can't record people without asking. You can't speak to people sexually while not in character or while talking about a character. And if you overstep, you move on. It's the weirdness after that makes it feel bad. Like if we speak up, the vibes on set get funky and the work suffers." Okay. Ooh, like what? Where is the video that she's talking about? Where did he record people without asking? Can she give us more details on that? I would love to know where he recorded her without asking. That's important for me to know because that's also how she got that makeup artist fired. Do you guys remember that? That's literally how she got that makeup artist fired when she said that he was recording her without asking. She said she was sleeping and the makeup artist recorded her and then she got him fired. And by the way, she says it's the weirdness after that makes it feel bad. Well, maybe because you're saying, I feel like you're sexually harassing me or you're making me, that's going to make him feel uncomfortable maybe. Yeah. And someone said, was it like for an Instagram story? What kind of recording are we talking about? On May 29th, the same female cast member texts Miss Lively to recount a conversation with one of the film's producers about the cast member's own concerns with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's conduct. And that producer agreed that the situation needed to change. Okay. One of the film's producers about the cast member's own concerns. So that is probably Alex Sachs. That's my guess. The same producer also reaches out to Miss Lively to say that she had spoken to Miss Giannetti and confirming her conversation with the female cast member about what had been occurring on set. Miss Lively thanks her for reaching out and replied that they would catch up later that week. So this is Alex Sachs. I guarantee about it. The next day, the producer reaches out to Miss Lively again to praise her. Miss Lively responds with gratitude and thanks the producer for taking the space to step up where we need it. The producer in turn thanks Miss Lively because she helped make the space for them to finally start listening to me. So thank you. It's a lot of making spaces, keeping spaces, saving spaces, taking spaces. It's a lot of wicked spaces. Okay. After unsuccess, that didn't make any sense to me. So she has a producer on her side. Awesome. Okay. After unsuccessfully attempting to raise concerns with Sony, Miss Lively expressly told Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath that there were serious HR problems on set. Mr. Heath responded that they knew, implying that someone had mentioned to them that Miss Lively had raised concerns. In response, Mr. Heath told Miss Lively that he thought she had wanted to see the nude video of his wife. Okay, wait, hold on. After unsuccessfully attempting to raise concerns with Sony, Miss Lively said to Baldoni and Heath that there are serious HR problems on set. Heath responds they knew. And then he said, I thought you wanted to see the nude video of my wife. Okay, I'm sure that's not how he responded. That seems so weird that that's how he would respond. He probably said, I'm sorry, I had no idea that you wouldn't want to see the birthing video. I'm sure he didn't say, I didn't know that you didn't want to see the nude video of my wife. This is kooks. Let's keep going. On June 1st, the female cast member told Miss Lively that Mr. Baldoni had expressly acknowledged her concerns in writing. Okay, so this is when he writes to Jenny. I'm convinced it's Jenny Slate, so I'm going to go with that. stating, I recognize that the last few days of filming have been difficult, but I wanted you to know that the work is really great and I'm excited for what we're creating. Equally important is that I was made aware of your concerns. I wanted you to know that they are fully received. I hear you, and adjustments will be made accordingly. The cast member conveyed to Miss Lively that she did not feel the acknowledgement was satisfactory. Miss Lively agreed. Okay, well, you know what? Fuck you guys then. Seriously? Oh my God. So he wrote an apology letter acknowledging his problem, acknowledging the issue, saying he's sorry, saying it will be better, and they still don't think it's good enough. I can't. This is Jenny Slate, and this is related to the HR complaint that Zach and I read. That HR complaint was real, by the way. You guys all thought that was fake, but that was fully a real summary of this. He grabbed her and positioned Jenny Slate and probably touched her, and she thought he touched her on the butt. She went to her agent or her manager. The manager's message was Sony, Angie and Eddie. It's totally, you guys, honestly, Perez Hilton and Candace Owens, who came after Zach and I and said, it's fake. It's fake. It wasn't fake. It was real. Okay. Zach, I'm going to text Zach right now. I'm seriously going to call him right now on speaker. I'm like annoyed because we were right. We were right about it. I'm frustrated because we were right. And I feel like this is what happened. So he apologized and they still didn't think it was satisfactory. How upsetting is that? Isn't that frustrating? He's not picking up. Zach. Call me. Okay. I mean, he just got into New York, so I don't know if he'll be able to. Okay. Oh, here he is. Zach.
What happened?
I'm live on my YouTube with 4,000 people listening, and they can hear you. Our complaints were fully real.
Yes, they were absolutely fully real.
Because I'm reading this one part, paragraph 128, and it says on June 1st, the female cast member.
I'm taping the Access Hollywood podcast, and they say hi because Lauren said she was watching our live last night on Instagram.
Oh, you're with Lauren?
Yeah, well, Lauren's virtual, but I'm with Emily here in New York right now. Lauren's in LA.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Lauren and Emily. You guys, he's with Lauren and Emily from Access Hollywood, the Housewives nightcap. You guys, I love you.
How are you?
Well, I'm live on YouTube with 4,000 people frustrated at Blake Lively.
God. Oh my God. Shauna, the way that you and Zach just I fully was sad while you were going through the amendment last night?
Yes.
And the way that, Donna, we keep bringing you up on our podcast because Emily will try to talk about the Blake stuff. And I'm like, no. Everyone just go listen to either Donna or Zach because they know so much more than us about it.
Oh my God. We have to, okay, we're going to get you guys, I'll have you guys on my show or I'll come on your show and we'll talk about it.
Yes, that would be great. We would love that too. We'll figure that out.
Okay, I love you guys. Well, then I'll talk to you guys soon. You do your show, but I feel vindicated, Zach. I feel like our HR complaints were real.
They were 1,000% real. We're totally vindicated. Perez Hilton can suck it.
Oh, okay. You guys heard it first. All right, you guys, I love you. Talk to you soon. I'm glad you're there safe. Okay, bye.
See you soon.
Bye. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. No, that was Lauren and Emily from the Housewives Nightcap. They do an Access Hollywood podcast and they're awesome. I feel vindicated from this because that was clearly Jenny Slate's HR complaint about the butt grab when she was like, I want to talk to my manager and I want them to talk to Sony now. Do you guys remember that HR complaint? So that's what it was. And so basically she got a letter because it said in that HR complaint that Justin Baldoni wrote a letter apologizing. And here it is. It says, I hear you. I am sorry. I apologize. I recognize and adjustments will be made. And she did not feel like it was satisfactory. Can you imagine being married to that? Lance, can you imagine if you're still here? If Lance and I were married and he apologized to me in a letter like that and I still was like, not good enough. Can you imagine? On June 8th, 2023, a female cast member confided that she had difficulty having conversations with Mr. Baldoni. Miss Lively responded that she too found it really hard to speak to him. I try to cover it up with busyness, but not sure that covers up what's going on. I think we're fine. We just have some stories to tell, and who knows if it wasn't a if it wasn't a shit who maybe we wouldn't have found each other in such an anchoring way, and noted they were survivors with shared trauma. Whoa. Mr. Baldoni's response to hearing the grievances of Miss Lively and another female cast member were dismissive. On June 8th, 2023, the female cast member who raised concerns about Mr. Baldoni, okay. I just want to read. Okay, good. Mr. Baldoni's response to hearing the grievances of Miss Lively and another female cast member was dismissive. On June 8th, the female cast member who raised concerns about Mr. Baldoni's behavior told Miss Lively that Mr. Baldoni had been heard complaining to another actor that, dude, I have to tell you something, but I don't want to get canceled or lose my job. You can't say anything on this set anymore. Dude, I'm with him. I agree with him. Why is that wrong? He's not wrong. It says, what if these HR complaints were drafted to use as leverage over Sony to use her cut of the movie that would coincide where they were not filed with either Sony or Wayfarer or SAG? I don't know why those were, if they were real or if they were fake, but they were based on real events. Like, I don't know if they were actually real complaints, but they were clearly based on real events, if that's what I mean. That's what I mean by that. They weren't coming out of thin air. Sorry, but I agree with Justin. Wouldn't you also say what Justin said? You can't say anything on the set anymore. I feel like Justin is right. I wouldn't want to say anything if I were Justin at this point. As described above, Miss Lively and others attempt to raise concerns to Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath regarding certain of the conduct described during filming, but it was futile to ask Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath to address their own behavior, and their concerns were not addressed. Despite receiving multiple detailed reports by Miss Lively and others about Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's misconduct, Wayfarer failed to investigate those reports or institute protections for the cast. This is so even though the incidents discussed above, among others, did not take place in isolation, and many, if not all, were witnessed by others. I hate long paragraphs. It's saying that in January 31st, in this amended complaint that he just came out with, Baldoni admit that she did raise concerns directly in May 2023, and the narrative about their complaint is telling. They're saying that they were suspicious of her concerns, and now they insist that they were informed by Sony that any complaints were not sexual in nature, and that Mr. Baldoni sensed that Lively was intentionally manipulating the facts. Mr. Baldoni admits the way he addressed this was to create an acknowledgement note for someone else to pass on to Miss Lively, which Miss Lively found entirely unsatisfactory. What? Defendants mock Miss Lively by saying she raised a series of grievances that she appeared to have spent the past 5 days overanalyzing and scrutinized every minor infraction and perceived slight. In sum, defendants have conceded that Miss Lively raised concerns about their behavior both to Sony and to them directly, but their response is to retroactively rebrand those concerns as non-sexual and criticize Miss Lively for overanalyzing perceived slights. Okay. By these and other behaviors, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and Wayfarer engaged in harassing conduct and failed their obligations to investigate complaints of workplace harassment, prevent inappropriate and harassing behaviors on set, and provide avenues for cast and crew members to safely raise concerns to neutral parties so that they could be investigated and appropriately addressed. In January 31st, this is just a couple weeks ago, in the midst of this litigation and nearly 2 years after first concerns were raised to Wayfarer, outside investigation counsel for Wayfarer sent a letter to Miss Lively's counsel claiming that they had recently been retained by Wayfarer to conduct a neutral third-party investigation of her complaint for sexual harassment, etc. They have asked to interview Miss Lively and have an introductory call with her counsel first. Miss Lively's counsel engaged in an introductory call with the outside investigation counsel on February 12th. This was just a few days ago. They have acknowledged that Wayfarer had a legal mandate to conduct an investigation and confirmed that Wayfarer had not previously conducted any such investigation. These investigators confirmed that Wayfarer controlled the investigation budget and the documents and information that the investigators would receive. And the investigation would be attorney-client privileged, and that as the holder of the attorney-client privilege, Wayfarer would have the right to all of the investigators' interview notes, memoranda, determinations, and conclusions, which Wayfarer could keep completely secret. The Wayfarer parties counsel would have the right to sit in on the investigators' interviews, and it was entirely Wayfarer's decision as whether the findings of the investigations were memorialized. The investigators acknowledged having read Miss Lively's complaint and confirmed if the incidents occurred if as alleged, there are significant problems within the organization. So basically they're saying that Wayfarer has this launch of an investigation, but why don't Blake's team also launch a third-party investigation, or can't they agree to have a third-party investigation together? Doesn't that make sense? It's saying that the Wayfarer parties ignored their legal mandate to conduct an investigation in 2023 when they indisputably became aware of multiple HR complaints. And their cynical attempt to launch a rigged investigation now makes a mockery of their legal obligations. And while it is helpful that Wayfarer has finally conceded its legal obligation to investigate sexual harassment, Wayfarer continues to ignore its legal obligation to cease retaliating against Miss Lively for reporting those concerns. Okay. Excuse me? Look at this gross comment I got from Light214. Gross, gross, gross. I can't believe you're talking about Jewish people. Okay, well, gross, gross, gross. I can't believe that you're grossed out by that. Welcome to the show. I am Donna Bowling, and I am very proudly Jewish. The hell is wrong with you? Okay. Bye. You're definitely not supposed to be here. Okay, next. Oh my God. I can't talk about the WGA stuff, you guys. I just can't. The strike. I may have to skip through some of this. Can we skip through the WGA? Is there anything interesting in this part? Wait, Gwen D says that there's a version of this lawsuit with video and screen caps? Where? Tell me. Okay, let's skip through this. I can't go through all this. This my brain hurts right here. Okay. Now it's saying this is about the edit. Oh, she said it in her super chat. Was there a super chat about this? I'm not seeing anything right now about it. Okay. I'm skipping too much. Okay. I'm going to find it. Don't worry. I'm going to get there. Don't worry. It's a lot of just like extra. So this is, okay. On December 4th, 2023, on December 4th, 2023, Angie Giannetti reached out to Miss Lively to acknowledge that Miss Lively's experience on set had been beyond challenging and to reiterate her own and Sony's support for Miss Lively and her relief that Todd Black, who was brought in to oversee the safety of the cast and crew was now on board. She stated, so glad Todd Black is now in on it and overseeing everything, but wanted to check in and offer anything I can. I know this has been beyond challenging, to say the least. We at the studio want to support you the best we can. This is from Sony, of course. This is when, Angie is writing to Blake saying, "Hi, Blake, it's Angie. I just tried your cell a few times, but call wouldn't go through. So glad Todd is back. We at the studio want to support you. I have to be in LA for some doctor appointments. Let me know when there's a good time to try you, etc." The all hands in-person meeting occurred on January 4th with everyone there. At the January 4th meeting, the parties discussed a list of the 20 examples. I mean, that we definitely had talked about. Okay. Let's go into the edit. Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties have falsely claimed that Miss Lively took over the movie as a self-aggrandizing power play. The defendant's entire accusation would rely on Miss Lively and other fabricating malicious claims nearly a year before an edit, though Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath reportedly engaged in inappropriate behavior with witnesses and corroborators in real time. And then, even more complicated, their accusation would have required Miss Lively to rely on the hope that the Wayfarer parties would sign a document acknowledging and agreeing to cease the detailed and specific misconduct described in her claims after writing letters of apology to other female cast 8 months before. And also, most critically, the supposed master plan they absurdly accused Miss Lively of would rely on the hope that Wayfarer would never in that 1.5-year process launch an HR investigation to clear their innocent names, but instead allow their film to be stolen from them. The assertion Miss Lively bullied her way into the edit room is not only false, but it was not even necessary. If she was not happy with the film, she could have easily just moved on to her next project. Oh, okay. She had offers for directing jobs before and during and after since the film. If she wanted to direct, she could do that at any time and without having to deal with the Wayfarer parties, whom she clearly wanted nothing to do with. The story of the edit of the film is not relevant to Miss Lively's claims of sexual harassment and retaliation. It is a red herring designed to distract the public away from the grave misconduct of the defendants. The Sony cut is the film that was chosen to be released in theaters. Miss Lively led the Sony cut with their support, working in close collaboration with Sony and Colleen Hoover. I can't wait to hear from Sony. We have to. Sony released the film's trailer on May 16th. The next day, a Sony executive wrote Miss Lively about the huge response from the public to that release, calling it a beautiful start and thanking Miss Lively for her contributions. I want to remind you again that Sony fully is kissing Blake's ass every moment of every single hour of this production. Okay. Hi there. I'm sure Josh is updating you on the huge response to the trailer. 108 million views in 24 hours. Just incredible. But I'm texting to thank you. I know how hard you worked on making that trailer perfect. Round after round with creative advertising and all while you're shooting, working on the cut, mother of 4 and on and on and on. Still a long way till August 9th, but an incredible launch. Fans are so excited. And learned from publisher This Am, Amazon sold 6,000 copies of the book in 12 hours after trailer dropped. A beautiful start. And thank you for making it so, Ange. Ass kisser. And by the way, I watched that trailer so many times too because I was so excited for that movie because I loved the book, not because of Blake Lively, but because it was like we were all so excited for the book, right? On June 19th, one of the film's producers described Miss Lively's edit of the film as excellent and her work is truly beautiful. Let's see evidence. On August 11th, after the film's release, Sony executive Miss Giannetti wrote to Miss Lively, Blake, $50 million, your blood, sweat, tears, brilliant smarts, heart, and soul in every single frame. My God, it's incredible. Thank you 50 million times, and it's only Saturday night. Ange Giannetti is so annoying. The story Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties have told since Miss Lively filed her opening complaint is completely at odds with their behavior when trying to produce and market the film. Before Miss Lively sued, Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties were perfectly happy to exploit Miss Lively's star power, as well as her access to A-level filmmakers, editors, and more. And notwithstanding their complaints today that Miss Lively supposedly seized control of Mr. Baldoni's film, that did not stop Mr. Baldoni from proudly marketing the film as his work on release. Indeed, although Mr. Baldoni privately confessed that he did not even see the final cut of the film until the premiere, he repeatedly and publicly took credit for the film, while Miss Lively generally downplayed her contributions. Oh my God. The irony of Wayfarer's complaints should be lost on no one. It is Mr. Sarowitz, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Heath that have reaped the greatest financial benefits from Miss Lively's hard work. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's her hard work, and they have reaped the benefits. Because she's saying they made so much money, but she did all the hard work. So as long as she stayed silent about their misconduct, defendants were content to continue collecting paychecks from the film they now claim she hijacked. Her name is Blake Hijack Lively. It is only once since she spoke out about the sexual harassment and retaliation to which defendants subjected her that they decided to attempt to convince the public that Miss Lively ruined the film. And defendants have done so, even though throughout the process, Mr. Baldoni engaged in stunning duplicity, praising Miss Lively to her face and in public, while secretly disparaging her in private and plotting to bury her alongside the truth of his own behavior. Not to be outdone, Mr. Sarowitz loudly promoted the film and its box office successes, all while financing defendants' efforts to destroy Miss Lively and her family, even though the film had turned out very well, and Wayfarer had made a lot of money on it. In late August of 2024, Mr. Sarowitz confessed to a third party that if Miss Lively or Miss Reynolds ever cross the line, then I will go after them again. He declared, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. We're going to go through that again. No thanks. Miss Lively and the other cast and crew promoted the film according to the marketing plan. We have to say that again. Everything is repeated again. She did everything. Oh, we're grabbing our clitorals. It's talking about how she did everything that they wanted her to do. She had nothing to do with this. Even though, Mr. Heath was defending Sony's plan, even though we have in writing how this was not how they wanted to market the movie. But she doesn't have anything in writing. She's just saying that they loved it. Oh my God, Tracy came up with the best next movie. How to Steal a Movie in 10 Days. Kate Hudson, where are you? Where are you? Kate Hudson needs to star in How to Steal a Movie in 10 Days. In advance of the release of the film, nearly all cast members chose to appear in public separately from Mr. Baldoni giving his on-set behavior. You think they chose to do that? Or Blake, did you force them to do that? That's the question. Mr. Baldoni became concerned that the public would discover that there is something much bigger under the surface. At that point, Baldoni pivoted away from the film's marketing plan. We already saw this. I mean, what is this? Just like repeating? It's a lot of repeating. This feels like you're trying to get a certain amount of words in a complaint. Like they're trying to hit a certain amount of words for an essay, right? Doesn't it feel like that? Ms. Abel cautioned Mr. Baldoni that the shift must be too drastic too soon. He wanted a TikTok strategy. We've gone through all of this. Okay, so this is when they're talking about the marketing. She's saying that he's definitely going after her. He's saying that we've got to have a plan for her to go down. This is nothing new. Nothing new. It's talking all about the fact that they hired TAG, the agency group, and then they bring in, obviously, Jed. And then they're talking about how they're friends with people at Daily Mail, they're friends with People magazine, and they're getting ready with the scenario planning document. The TAG could also explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism. This is all of their first complaint. Absolutely nothing else is new. It's literally repeating everything in the first 50 pages. It's crazy. Yeah, Megan says something about the Hamas quote. Why wasn't the Hamas quote in the first quote version of the lawsuit? They added to it in this version because it's new. Because they faked a new quote because they were like, we need more press. But Patricia says it has to have everything. It's the amended complaint. I agree, but it's repeating things that they already said earlier in this complaint. Like we're doubling up on the things that I already covered earlier today. Like all of this stuff we already talked about earlier today. We're literally doubling up on the same stuff. Okay, so we've already said this today. And this is all stuff we've already covered, so we don't need to go over it again. It's everything the same about the text messages between Melissa and Jennifer. Okay. So this is the social combat plan. It's not actually, there's no proof of it actually happening, even though she thinks that it's definitely happened, because what is happening is organically, you and I and all the bots online are definitely starting to recognize with Sharsti Flaw and all of those people that something is happening, right? People are starting to write bad things online. And so people are starting to see negative things, and they know that it's happening. They are sure that it's part of the smear campaign, even though Justin's team is saying they never actually enacted it. She's only showing cherry-picked text as she did in her original complaint, but Justin has already refuted this with the full context. And now we're talking about, this is a very long portion of it. And this will be the final thing that will come out in court when it finally does. And she has a lot of, her wording here where it basically says, let's talk about this basically. During the same period of time, Miss Nathan, Miss Abel, and their teams were heavily monitoring, had media friendlies updating them, and worked to suppress unflattering commentary regarding Mr. Baldoni while spreading stories that were favorable to Mr. Baldoni. For example, on August 9th, Miss Abel circulated a screenshot of a post by a woman stating Justin, the creator of a show called My Last Days, exploits the struggles of individuals facing terminal illness for his own gain. He found my friend who is battling a serious illness and followed her life closely. Despite her grace in not speaking ill of him, I sensed from the start that something was deeply wrong. Justin weaponizes therapeutic language, presenting himself as thoughtful and supportive, yet his actions reveal a very different reality. He portrays himself as an ally to women and the vulnerable, but it's all a facade. He manipulates the vernacular of care to mask his true intentions. In reality, none of the proceeds from a show benefited the individuals he profiled. He even had the audacity to depict her hometown, a vibrant and affluent community, as a small, impoverished town. His portrayal was not just inaccurate, but insulting, etc. So it goes on. It's a very bad post. In response to this post, Ms. Abel stated, I'm assuming this is not true in the slightest. Either way, we flagged to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side. It's worth pausing to consider Ms. Abel's reaction to this woman's post. And by the way, we don't see the text here. We're just seeing her wording of the text. So why are we not seeing the screenshot of this? That's interesting to me. It says, it is worth pausing to consider Ms. Abel's reaction to this woman's post rather than asking Mr. Baldoni whether there's any truth to the allegations. Ms. Abel instead declared that she was flagging the women's post to Mr. Wallace for more serious action. Either way, meaning Ms. Abel was calling for Mr. Wallace to take action against the woman without any regard to whether she was reporting the truth. I mean, show the screenshots. It's so interesting how you only can show the screenshots of certain things, but not the real things. Okay, by this time, individuals at TAG, Miss Nathan, and Miss Abel were aware of the existence of complaints that were made regarding the onset behavior of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath, and sought clarity as to the specific HR complaints at issue in order to better counter them in the press. This is from Melissa to Jennifer. It says, hey guys, read the TMZ thing, read the HR complaints. Our understanding is that 2 were from Blake, and blank, read the sexy comment. Is the additional one from blank, read the thing with Jamie and her apartment in New York City? Just want to clarify. Approximately 1 minute later, Miss Abel asserted the need to position the claims, as claims are already out there about the kiss and the weight comment, referencing earlier public reporting by TMZ on Mr. Baldoni's lingering kiss with Miss Lively and Mr. Baldoni's comments regarding Miss Lively's weight on set. Okay. This was all in the original complaint, and we have absolutely no new information. We literally have nothing about that apartment, nothing about Jamie Heath's apartment. I thought for sure that we were going to get more information about Jamie Heath's apartment. Why didn't we get anything about that? In early August 2024, Miss Lively launched her hair care line, Blake Brown, which she spent 7 years building. Defendants have falsely claimed that the launch was timed with the film's release, but in reality, the launch was set nearly 1 year before the film's release date had been decided. It was not until May of 2024, and when the film's release date was moved for the third time, that it happened to land the same week as Lively's hair care launch. When the Blake Brown hair care line was first launched, the media and social media response was overwhelmingly positive, and the launch of the product line at Target became the store's biggest hair care launch on record. Yet exactly at the same moment that defendants launched their retaliatory campaign powered on the digital side by Mr. Wallace and his team, the Instagram account of Blake Brown was flooded by harassing and derogatory comments, including many posted by user accounts that had no following and no prior posts, most of which did not relate to the brand's products. To take just one example, one comment posted on the Blake Brown account by a user that as of December 19th shows user metrics indicating 0 posts, 0 followers, and 0 following commented, "How about you stop paying the media to trash and smear Justin? That would be a good start, you awful human being." Another user, also with 0 posts, 0 followers, and 0 following, posted, "We want Justin's cut of the movie. He actually care about DV." Oh my God. Now, I follow someone who I really, truly trust heavily for her makeup and hair and skincare reviews on Instagram. Her name is Jillian. She has some of the best reviews ever. And like, honestly, I really do love her reviews, and I don't believe she gets paid to like tear down any companies. I really do believe that she like truly reviews things, and she reviewed Blake Lively's hair products, and she truly said it was the worst thing that she ever used on her hair. And I honestly believed her. So I don't know necessarily if it's like really truly against Blake or if it's just very bad hair care. Has anyone actually used her hair care and actually thought it was good? I'm curious in the comments if you guys actually used it. And I don't know if that's like an anti-Blake Lively thing or if it's like a real, true, I don't know. I almost want to find the video and show you guys. Okay, I'm going to find the video and show you guys. Here, hold on. Just because I find it kind of like interesting.
Go my honest review of Blake Lively's new hair care line, Blake Brown. Now, most of you voted for me not to review this, but oh wow. Most of you know I'm not a fan of the packaging. That doesn't mean the products won't be good. Didn't look good in my shower, but I digress. So my Target only had 3 products: the Fundamental Strengthening Shampoo, the All-in-Wonder Leave-In Potion, and the Dry Shampoo. Now, first up, the Dry Shampoo. My hair was 4 days dirty. The smell is really strong at first, but I really liked this. It left my hair feeling clean and fresh. I give this a thumbs up. I'll definitely use it again. Now, here's where things go south. This bottle was really hard for me to open, and the shampoo has a really overpowering scent, and for me it just didn't feel good in my hair. It felt like it was like drying my hair out a bit. I couldn't find the hair mask, so I just used one of my own hair masks instead of using conditioner because she's not a fan of conditioner. Now, this All-in-Wonder Leave-In Potion, I did about 4 pumps all over my hair, and then I air dried my hair. I always air dry my hair, so I know how it should air dry. I know how it should look in the morning. This wasn't it. It was like greasy and dry at the same time. And then when I curled my hair, it was so much frizzier than it normally is. And again, the only thing I did different was the Wonder Potion and the shampoo. I really felt that my hair looked and felt really dry throughout the day, very frizzy. So the Fundamental Shampoo and the Wonder Potion, they're just going to be a no for me. Maybe let me know if you like them. They're not for me. Dry shampoo though, as far as dry shampoos go, here we
So I really trust her with her reviews. I just don't think genuinely that they're amazing products. Like, is that okay? Are you allowed to say that? Okay. That's how I think, honestly. I just think that they aren't the best products, and Blake Lively wants to blame anything that people don't like on bots. That's how it works. In fact, like if someone doesn't like her outfit, like if her friend doesn't like her outfit, she calls them a bot. Okay, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Sarowitz, along with Mr. Heath, both encouraged and provided input and ideas and ways to negatively influence the narrative against Miss Lively, her family, and her businesses, as well as suppressing negative press about Mr. Baldoni. For instance, on August 9th, the film's release date, in discussing certain negative articles about himself with Miss Abel, Mr. Baldoni stated, "There's no way we can just let this go." On August 15th, Mr. Baldoni texted Miss Nathan and Miss Abel, stating that his business partner, Miss Sarowitz, oh, this is crazy. I talked about this last night with Zach. Suggesting that Steve Sarowitz suggests flipping the narrative arising from unnamed sources who had made false claims about Ryan Reynolds' involvement in the script of the film, and suggested ways to manipulate those rumors to make Mr. Reynolds appear to be anti-feminist. So basically, there's a text from Justin to Melissa and Jennifer Abel saying, Steve asked about flipping the narrative from this leak about Ryan saying the script was a disaster and that he saved the movie. So basically, there was some sort of leak that said Ryan thought the movie was a disaster and that he had to save the movie. And it was probably some bad press. And Justin was like, we've got to switch this around and we got to fix this. And then Justin says to something about Ryan claiming that the female hired was a feminist writer who didn't know how to tackle a female film, using their own words against them, using probably the press's own words against them. But what they're saying is that the chief problem with these stories is that it wasn't based on Ryan Reynolds' own words. Ryan never said the script was a disaster and that he saved the movie, or that the female hired was a feminist writer. There was no evidence backing this up. So they're basically saying that these guys are trying to smear Ryan Reynolds, but I don't think they're reading the complaint right. I think what they're just saying is that there was weird articles and they wanted to turn it around to help Ryan. Like, this is wild. So they're creating now a smear campaign against Ryan Reynolds. They're thinking that these guys are smearing Ryan too. And it says that just a week before this suggestion, Mr. Sarowitz had posed for pictures with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath at the opening of their foundation, wearing a shirt that said, "Seek always to do that which is right and noble." Abdul Baha, Mr. Sarowitz's proposal to retaliate against Miss Lively by seeking to harm her husband's reputation, makes a mockery of the mantra Miss Sarowitz professes to follow when on camera. They are assholes, by the way, because they are weaponizing good people. They're weaponizing good people, and they're making them look like they're like good people that are actually mean people behind the scenes. And I don't, in my heart, believe that that is possible. I think they're actually good people. As of August 16th of 2024, Miss Nathan was continuing to confer with additional reporters to release stories that would cast Miss Lively. Meanwhile, again, no proof. Meanwhile, Miss Lively neither publicly commented nor directed any of her representatives to comment, to engage with print media, social media, or otherwise. No, she didn't have to, because at that point, TikTok was going. TikTok and you and I and YouTube and podcasts, everyone was going already. You didn't have to do anything. Moreover, Miss Lively expressly instructed her publicist, Leslie Sloan, to not engage, but she had already talked. Remember that? Her instructions were the opposite of a smear or exposing him, even while she believed he was behind the attacks on her. Mr. Ryan Reynolds confirmed that instruction to Miss Lively's publicist on August 13th and again on August 29th, directing her to continue to remain quiet and not do anything to shape any stories, whether positive or negative, reiterating an instruction that both he and Miss Lively had given her verbally at the premiere of the film in Denmark, to not talk to anyone about any of the attacks on Blake. So this is from Leslie to Ryan Reynolds publicist. Yeah, this is Ryan Reynolds and Leslie. It says, "Hi, it's Les. Just checking in to tell you I'm thinking about you. Be in the family. Hugs." Ryan says, "Thank you. This is the craziest thing I've ever witnessed in my life, but it will be resolved." Then Leslie says, "Hi, sorry to bother you, but this is clogging my inbox. I'm not answering." And then Ryan says, "Thanks for sending. It's imperative we stay silent on everything and speak to nobody. As I mentioned in Denmark before Blake's premiere, to not talk to anyone about any of these attacks on Blake. Just making sure you haven't done that at any point. I think this is sweet Bart said this, but this is the only thing to do is remain quiet for now. I have not per your instructions," Leslie said. I can't even read his text messages. I don't know why. Like, ew. Miss Lively and other cast members who had not appeared in the press with Mr. Baldoni experienced a sudden tidal wave of increasingly negative public attention building around them. I don't believe this, by the way, at all. I don't remember anyone going after anyone in the cast whatsoever except Blake. Miss Lively and others suspected that the extraordinarily rapid shift in public sentiment and press coverage that began on the day of the film's release was likely orchestrated by the men about whom Miss Lively and others had raised HR complaints. On August 10th, Miss Lively sent a text message to a female cast member regarding how she was doing, probably her sister, writing that she was both thrilled and so bummed. Him literally hiring bots to attack my character while I promote a movie that he benefits most from financially is a terrible feeling. It's almost impossible to comprehend. That cast member responded by expressing sympathy for Miss Lively and confidence that the truth would come out. So she's convinced one day after the premiere that there's bots. She knows it. Then the next day or that day, Sony texts Miss Lively to congratulate her on the success. The next day, she responds, "This was a horrifying shoot. And the only way for me to make peace with that was the work and the success of the film. And everyone rallied behind that in the end. And I'm so grateful for everyone's hard work, yours included. I couldn't be happier with how it turned out, the film and the reception." Later that day, she received a message from also another cast member making observations regarding the evident smear campaign against Miss Lively and the cast was insane. Miss Lively responded, "Yeah, I'm legitimately depressed and heartbroken, like in an immense amount of pain. I'm sorry it's being aimed at all of us, you included." Again, where's the evidence? On the same day, Miss Lively reached out to Christy Hall after she was questioned about an impromptu comment Miss Lively made about Mr. Reynolds writing the rooftop scene. All right? Okay? Let's read this together. "Hey, Christy. I hope you're enjoying the immense success of the weekend and for what it means for stories about women, by women, in film. I heard you were ambushed at your junket with a question about something I said on the red carpet. I feel awful. I never would have said anything that I could be used against you or anyone. I was just proud of my partner and feeling grateful for the ways in which he shows up for me. I believe firmly that two things can be true. In this case, he can show up for me and do great work doing so, and you can do great work, which got us all here, but the media will make things more black and white. And I should have seen that before speaking off the cuff. I was frazzled for a multitude of reasons that you may know something about or not. But in that moment, all I was trying to focus on was love and positivity. And the key source of that for me is my family, which is why it was a crutch for me to talk about him. I'm mortified how that translated with regard to you, though. I pride in being myself and being thoughtful and trying not to step in landmines, but I did. It was such an avoidable own goal, and I'm so sorry for any upset or hurt it may have caused you or left you feeling badly in any way. That was never my intention. I was thinking about audiences loving real life love and seeing that on screen is inspiring. I should have been holding all of that and you while speaking publicly, and I didn't do that. I'm sorry. I spoke about you during the many days of junkets, but of course the one that gets shared back to you is the one where I give my husband credit for the invisible work he did on this movie. I quite literally could not have gone through it without him in every way, but that's not your bag to carry, and somehow it was, even for a moment. We'll hopefully talk more about one day about plenty. What it is to be a woman in this industry is messy and painfully not charted enough. I live in New York and would love to get together anytime. Just let me know. There's so much to say, but none of that is for today. Today is a congratulations, a celebration, and I'm sorry for any upset I may have caused in an otherwise beautiful moment. Sending you the best. X. Blake. P.S. I'm sending you a box of Betty Boos and Blake hair care. Love you. Bye." She didn't actually send the box of the hair care. She wouldn't, but can't stand her. On August 12th, a female cast member, again, no proof, texted Miss Lively concerned about online commentary and asked what could be done to stop all the negative comments. On August 13th, another female cast member sent Miss Lively an article reporting that Justin Baldoni has hired veteran PR crisis manager Melissa Nathan. Miss Lively's response was, "Yep, the truth always comes out, as painful as it is to wait." On August 14th, the same cast member texted Miss Lively to ask about her well-being and to express her concern and respect for Miss Lively. Later, that cast member expressed regret at what Miss Lively was going through. On August 15th, another female cast member, I mean, how many? On August 15th, another female cast member wrote to Miss Lively about the online bullying that cast member was also receiving as a result of being associated with Miss Lively, and asking Miss Lively who to ask for help to have it stop because it was becoming difficult to cope with the onslaught. The next day, Miss Lively commented in a text message to the cast member that it's bullshit about all of us. We know who we are. It's why it hurts so much, because we feel and we're not evil sociopaths. To which the cast member responded in agreement. What the fuck? She actually wanted him not to go to the premiere. She asked him not to go at all. And then she forced him to go early. No, she didn't even want him there at all. But then he went because he was like, it's my movie. And then she made him sit in the basement. We're not evil sociopaths, she says. On August 15th, another female cast member. I mean, now is it like the random woman that worked at the coffee shop? Wrote about the online bullying that they were receiving as a result of being associated with Miss Lively. Oh my God. It's a double paragraph. It's the exact same paragraph twice. You guys, it's the same paragraph 2 times. They really should have read over their shit. On August 18th, Miss Lively observed that online... Patricia said 600 women came forward. Oh my God. On August 18th, Miss Lively observed that the online hatred and target against her was incessant and getting worse. She continued, everyone's sort of in shock and no one wants to be the first to hit it head on, so it just gets worse. Miss Lively noted that at this point she was staying off of social media given how ugly it had become. As this onslaught continued, she was deeply disappointed that neither Wayfarer nor Sony had stepped in to correct the record. On September 4th, she received a text from a Sony executive checking in on her and asking how she was doing. She responded, I'm not in a good place. This has been deeply painful and I feel so hung out to dry. From production to this PR crisis, no one stepped forward. I wish so much that I was okay, but I'm really not. The executive said, I know it's been hard and horrendously unfair, and I hope soon you can better take in this incredible film you made that audiences love around the world. It's so rare this happens, and you did that. You will also have $330 million worth of eyeballs watching a film about domestic violence. That is so important and affected so many lives for the better. That's because of you. Okay, so in December, we're talking about she sent the CRD and the cease and desist letter. You guys, I need a snack. I need to take we're at 3 hours. I'm trying to get this under 4 hours. I truly need a snack. I got like shaky. Any questions? Okay. We got to get this in the next hour. Okay. So they send out do the CRD complaint on December 20th. They do a cease and desist as well. At that point, Miss Abel, do you guys remember? Jen Abel posted to a PR and marketing group on Meta on Facebook, basically to defend herself among her peers. This is when I was Team Blake. Fully. I was on Team Blake so much, and I was really, really upset at Justin Baldoni and his team. And I remember reading Jen Abel's post, and I was like really shocked by it. I was like, whoa, I'm not a fan of hers at this point. I remember this. But at that point, let's see. Further, since receiving such notice of the CRD complaint on information and belief, Wayfarer, Mr. Baldoni, Heath, their associates ramped up they're ramping up their retaliation against Miss Lively, continuing their efforts to bury and destroy her to this date, deploying the same flood the zone tactics to overwhelm the process and confuse people, defendants and their agents acting. Okay, this is when we decide she's sick. This is when we decide she's sick because they have not done shit. None of them have talked to me. I have not talked to Justin, Baldoni, Heath, Wayfarer, Friedman. I mean, literally, I can tell you, hand to God, my hand to God, I have not spoken to any single one of them. This has been 100% me, myself, I, on my own choice. I was Team Blake until I started seeing the cracks in the case, and I have chosen every day to stand for what I believe is right. So I know 1000% that this woman is speaking out of her arse, okay? And it bothers me that she thinks that we're this stupid. A relentless media influence and digital manipulation strategy remains at the hearts of their campaign. They're convinced that they are still doing this. Steve Sarowitz is spending all of his money to ruin her, and all of our TikToks and all of our YouTubes every single day. This video is not sponsored by Rula Mental Health. This video is sponsored, according to her, by Wayfarer, and all of his statements to the press. Friedman talking to all of these people, Megyn Kelly, etc., Billy Bush. It's all because of this. It's so insane. Okay. So she fully is doing that. She's going with this as far as she possibly can, that this is still a smear campaign. It says defendants have further pursued their public strategy through frivolous litigation designed to create press attention, intimidate others from coming forward, and pressure Miss Lively to give up her claims. Defendants' counsel threatened to file numerous lawsuits to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion, as they should, because she's ruining someone's life, absolutely ruining someone's life with no grounds. Sexual harassment is such a big claim. This is not, a workplace harassment. You could have said workplace harassment. You could have said unsafe workplace. You could have sued Jess Wayfarer for unsafe workplace. You sued Justin Baldoni for sexual harassment. That's point blank, end of game. That's the problem. If you didn't go after Justin Baldoni for sexual harassment, you wouldn't get all of this shit back. That's the problem. Defendants have since proceeded to file multiple lawsuits in 3 jurisdictions. We know that. Obviously, defendants' courts of conduct and their numerous retaliatory lawsuits to date have been rife with gamesmanship, retaliation, harassment, including in matters as seemingly inconsequential as service. For instance, when Miss Lively filed her complaint, her counsel reached out to Mr. Friedman to ask whether he would agree to accept service of the complaint by email. Doing so is a standard way of avoiding the time and expense to, okay, so basically they're talking about how they're accepting service, how they should accept to be served. And now she's having issues with the way that they are being served. I mean, it's such issues. They're also talking about how she felt like she was being served. This comes later, that she felt she was being harassed. The insistence of harassing Miss Lively and her family with attempts to effectuate personal service has continued, notwithstanding that plaintiff's prior attempts at service on the evening of January 18th, 2025 resulted in one of Miss Lively's and Mr. Reynolds' employees being followed to the residence in which she was staying by an unknown vehicle with its headlights turned off down a dark road late at night, resulting in the filing of a police report. Remember, she served Brian Friedman and them on the weekend of the fires here in Los Angeles when he was losing his home. He lost his home to the fires and they were still served. But now she's like, I'm a victim. It was a dark road with the headlights off. Everything is in her life is she's a delulu. She's a delulu. It's nutty. Now they're talking about how they've weaponized the litigation. They created the website entitled The Lawsuit Info, which she thinks is a problem, but the judge doesn't. So why are we acting like this is a problem? Here's the lawsuit. I'm looking exactly at the lawsuitinfo.com. I mean, all he did was put it on a website. We all find this too. This is no problem. On information and belief, defendant's counsel has threatened numerous third-party witnesses, journalists, media entities, and others with lawsuits if they speak out against or publish unfavorable information about Mr. Baldoni or other defendant. Says who? Can we see some evidence? Can we see evidence where they have literally threatened people if they publish negative things about Baldoni? I have not seen any evidence to that. Should show us some evidence. In some, defendants' retaliation continues, unapologetic and unabated, using the very same playbook defendants assembled and have relied on since at least May 2024. Mr. Baldoni retaliated because HR complaints regarding his behavior threatened his feminist brand. They're basically saying that he freaked out because he was desperate to suppress any suggestion that he engaged in inappropriate conduct because he's a feminist ally. Again, they're repeating so much that they've already said in this freaking article. In this complaint. So again, they're talking about the TED Talk, and they're saying during the TED Talk, they display numerous screenshots of media coverage of himself from various sources. And they're showing, pictures of it. At the same time of the TED Talk, he announced the launch of a male talk show, Man Enough, that's his podcast. In one episode of his show, he hosts a roundtable with really strong men. So they're really like going deep into his allyship and how he's a strong, he talks about how he doesn't believe in toxic masculinity. Okay, cool. In Mr. Baldoni's own words, his activism starts in the mirror with an audience of one. Okay, look, I don't necessarily love his brand either. I do find it a little cheesy. I've always said that. But I actually don't necessarily think he's not this guy, if I can be honest. Okay, so she really, really goes, there's 10 pages on him as who he is. Okay, cool. Then it goes into Miss Lively, her family, her businesses, and how they're all getting, ruined. While there was considerable online coverage of the film and Miss Lively leading up to the film's nationwide release, the coverage was mostly neutral. Some online discussions referenced an apparent feud between the cast members, but they included a smaller percentage of negative and positive mentions. Soon, however, Miss Lively and her team became aware of an increase in negative media articles and social media coverage about her. The significant spike in the volume of negative sentiment towards Miss Lively included notable spikes on approximately August 8th and 14th, and continued to trend mostly negative for the remainder of 2024. We know that. It started to get really bad really fast, right? And then they posted some really negative comments, which, by the way, welcome to my life. That's all I get constantly in my message requests on Instagram, on, Reddit pages. They all hate me. This is literally what happens online. So many people hate people online. That's all that happens. Okay. On information belief, the Wayfarer team seeded social media. Oh, yeah. So they believe that Wayfarer seeded social media content with content creators on Reddit into publications with small audiences, and then they would amplify them. Okay, so they're convinced that that's true again. They have all these charts to show how strong it was. On February 4th, this is the wildest part. Now, they are including things that happened 2 weeks ago. Last week, 2 weeks ago, on February 4th, 2025, Amazon Prime Video announced on social media, Miss Lively and others with Anna Kendrick and Paul Feig, the upcoming release of their new movie. We talked about this, A Simple Favor. It says the announcement immediately faced a steady stream of comments repeating the false and harmful statements invented and perpetuated in the smear campaign financed by Sarowitz and executive by defendants. You guys, they think that the comments on the Anna Kendrick post, The Simple Favor, are smear campaign comments. They think that those are smear campaign comments. Yes, the one about A Simple Favor. I want to literally die that they are this delusional. It's actually it's actually kind of what's the word? Maybe it's embarrassing. Why is Blake Lively's name placed higher than Anna Kendrick? Is it also her edit? And so whoever wrote this, they think you're a bot. It's so embarrassing. Okay, so they're taking all kinds of posts on Reddit. We're living through, it's delusional. Yeah, we're living through this in this moment. They think that these are all part of the smear campaign. Okay. The vitriol and violence is unlike anything Miss Lively has experienced in her 20-year career. At no point until the initiation of the defendant's campaign had Miss Lively or her family experienced anything remotely like the above. The sentiments expressed above are the terrifying results of the money, time, and human resources defendants have poured into creating an environment of hatred against Miss Lively and her family. This campaign has been devastating to Miss Lively, including by causing substantial harm to her family, and her businesses, and all the people who work at each of them. Miss Lively has been precluded from not only experiencing the success of her film, but also having the ability to engage further with her business's fans and social media followers without immediately triggering an onslaught of hateful and violent comments. Instead, their family has been forced to contend with not only an incessant and wide-reaching negative media campaign, but also violent threats against her and many who associate with her. And when it became clear that this media blitz was the result of an intentionally seeded, cultivated, and financed campaign against her, she began to experience mental, physical, professional, and financial harms that continue to the present. The effects of her professional life were immediate and substantial. Given the ongoing nature of the campaign and associated negative public sentiment, Miss Lively did not believe she could proceed with public appearances or events without being forced to openly discuss what happened on set. For example, Miss Lively canceled a critical target corporate event for her hair care company. She felt compelled to decline an invitation to host the premiere episode of the 50th anniversary season of Saturday Night Live. I wonder if that has anything to do with Scarlett Johansson, though, and Colin Jost. She has since turned down other acting and directing opportunities. She's canceled multiple appearances on behalf of her businesses since December. Definitely since December, I agree. But it's weird because I just pulled up a bunch of things of her doing that she did before December. So don't worry, I'll be posting those receipts in just a bit. The retaliation campaign against Miss Lively has severely damaged her companies, obviously, not the fact that the products suck. Around the same time, social media accounts for Miss Lively brands, Betty Buzz, Betty Boos, Betty Bots. Should we call it Betty Bot? Okay, so it's all the comments. What if I found my own? Wouldn't that be so funny if I found at This Is Donna Bowling on the on the footnote? Okay. I don't leave mean comments like that. That's something I'm not into. I do not leave mean comments on people's accounts ever. I really don't. Unless it's like mean against myself, I don't think I would be mean, or like my family. After defendants launched their campaign, none of Miss Lively's business could operate the same way. The emotional impact on her has been extreme, not only affecting her, but her family, including her husband, definitely her husband, but her children. There are days when she has struggled to get out of bed, and she frequently chooses not to venture outside. While she has fought to maintain her personal life and business, behind closed doors, she has suffered from grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety. She has also been experiencing repeated and painful physical symptoms. Mr. Reynolds, too, has been affected mentally, physically, and professionally by his wife's and children's pain. Worst of all, however, has been the impact on their young children, who have been traumatized and emotionally uprooted in ways they have substantially impacted their well-being. Listen, I'm going to say something about this. I never would want any child to suffer through anything, okay? I say it really confidently. And I'm going to make this about myself for 2 seconds, because this is the only way I can relate to her, because I do feel for her. Actually, this does make me feel for her, because I don't doubt that she is going through some serious anxiety and depression. I do. Okay. I really do. I don't think that she's going through serious anxiety and depression for any other reason than for self-inflicted reasons, because I don't think that she understands she brought this upon herself at this point. She dealt with it in the wrong way from the beginning, and she brought this upon herself at this point, and she's not failing to see the realities. She's lacking self-awareness, but I still feel bad that she's experiencing these feelings, and that makes me sad for her, because no one should experience all those sad feelings, especially as a mother or whatever. But to use your children as pawns for pity and for media attention, because I saw there was a Page 6 article saying her children are traumatized. I don't know how old her kids are exactly. I think she has a like a 10-year-old and then younger, something like that. I went through a period a few months ago where I had some severe online hate, serious online hate. Before a lot of you guys started following me. I went through a period where I was like really, really just getting it online, like bad, 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 bad. My kids did not feel it. Like my boys, I mean, I would explain to them what was going on. And I totally explained, like, I'm getting bullied online, or I'm getting yelled at online, or people are not happy with me because I said something stupid. I explained that I said something stupid and I, handled it badly, or I did something bad. And now I'm getting, this is what happens when you have an online, show and you say something and then like it gets received badly, and I apologize and it didn't get received well and whatever. And like I took accountability and I explained, and this is life. This is life, and I'll get through it. And people are mean online. And like, this is why it's dangerous to be online. And I explain it. My kids are fine. Like they don't they're not traumatized by it. Like in life as a parent, you have to shield your children from like falling apart with you. There's something about like holding strength. Like there's worse things in life than to get like online bullying. There's people that are like getting like, what about, God forbid, I hate to bring her up in this moment, but like, what about something like Teddy Mellencamp's going through, or like people who are literally like going to jail, or are like dying of disease, or are getting, or in war, or people, kids in war. That is something that is traumatic. This, my friend, let's keep it in real, like, let's like keep it in perspective, right? It's kind of crazy, especially since we have pictures of her at LACMA in September or October or November, like 2 months after this, with her fashion dress with Ralph Lauren. I'm sorry, what? Let's be real. And like with Taylor Swift at dinners. So traumatized. Sorry, that was just my own moment. Oh yeah, all the people that lost their homes in the fires. Yeah, that's trauma. This is like using your kids as, and like, by the way, look at Justin. Like his kids have a dad that now is accused of sexual harassment forever. The threats and harassments are not limited to Miss Lively. Any individual with even a tangential connection are the inevitable and emotional consequence. Like she's basically talking about Taylor Swift and all her friends. Okay, so she's saying there's a lot of harm there. Terrorizing climate is the result of the retaliatory campaign. Okay, Miss Lively never sought out conflict with Wayfarer, Baldoni, or Mr. Heath, but it's instead consistently attempted to speak up for a safe and respectful workplace privately in the hopes of protecting herself as well as the cast and crew without jeopardizing a film that she believed could make a difference in people's lives. In response, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and those working for them sought to destroy Miss Lively and anyone else who might dare to speak the truth. Miss Lively's discovery of the full extent of the retaliatory campaign launched by the Wayfarers parties and the associates left her with no choice. Why? Left her with no choice? She had no choice. No choice? Okay. So there we go. So that's what she's doing. And then basically it's saying that she's suing for all of this, cause of action. And I think you guys, did we do it? I think we kind of went through it. So that pretty much, oh my God, I feel like that's it. Yeah, it gets boring after that. And then, oh my God, under 4 hours, 3 hours and 26 minutes. And then the last piece of this that I just wanted to share with you, which was Brian Friedman's response, which is basically saying, oh my God, I've been online for so long. I haven't even looked at like any news. Brian Friedman's response today was basically saying that, where's the evidence? It is just all hearsay. I have no evidence. And basically like, it's kind of, I want to get his actual wording. Hold on. I saw it on TMZ earlier. 46 hours ago. Give me a secondo. How are you guys doing? What do you guys think? What are your ultimate feelings? Do you feel like she actually had a case here? Do you feel like anything was actually said important here? So she said, oh, exhibits? What's the point of the exhibits? Do I have to do the exhibits? Okay. He said, where is the evidence? He said, they're missing one critical thing, cold, hard proof he did her wrong. He said they're underwhelming. The suit is filled with unsubstantial hearsay of unnamed persons who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. He adds that his clients, Baldoni, his publicists, and Wayfarer Studios have been very transparent in providing receipts, real-time documents, and videos showing a completely different story than what has been manipulated and cherry-picked to the media. He referenced Blake and Ryan Reynolds going to the SNL 50 event last week and saying, our clients have taken this matter and these issues very seriously, notwithstanding the jokes made publicly by the plaintiff and her husband. Blake's new docs, there were two other women on the set of It Ends With Us who were uncomfortable with Justin's behavior and that reported to an exec at Sony, which distributed the film. Blake also said that these two women, unnamed at this point, are willing to share documents and testify in court. Friedman doesn't seem the least the bit worried, telling us since documents do not lie, and people do, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Miss Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening. What is truly uncomfortable here is Miss Lively's lack of actual evidence. Blake is suing Justin for sexual harassment on the set and for engaging in a smear campaign against her. She's also added a defamation claim against Friedman. But remember, Justin's suing Blake, Ryan, and the New York Times for trying to torpedo his reputation and career. There you go. So he's right. The lawyers, what he's saying is like, you can completely say that we have, you can completely say that you have all these evidence, you have all these witnesses that will come forward on the stand and they'll say anything. They can say anything, but we don't have actual evidence of any of this. And if you can't provide the text messages of anything, and all you can do is come on the stand and say, oh my gosh, this happened, this happened, this happened. Like, people lie all the time. We don't have any actual evidence. I don't think we have a case. We'll see what happens, you guys. What a wild, wild turn of events. I need a nap. I need a cocktail. I need a snack. I need a pee break. I need lunch. It's 2 p.m. here in LA. I live at this computer. Here's what I'm going to do. I need vitamin D. I'm going to go and take a break. And then I'm going to maybe be back in a little bit later. We'll see. I'll release this episode via audio as well. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Love you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all your support today. Thank you for subscribing. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.